little sunblock weather here today in Jacksonville. 80 degrees, partly sunny. It is a perfect football day. Chuck Pagano is hoping his team will be able to rebound off last week's loss to the Steelers. 39-21. He's won 11 games in each of his first 3 years. A 16-game winning streak in the AFC South. Gus Bradley is just looking for consistency on offense and improvement on the defensive end of the fields. Colts won the toss. They've elected to defer, which means Pat McAfee will tee it up. They'd kick it off. Denard Robinson is back deep to receive. He has become as versatile as they come in the National Football League. Well, here we go. Week number 14 of the National Football League is underway from Jacksonville. And Robinson will just take a knee 9 yards deep, and the Jaguars will begin 1st and 10 from their 20. Blake Bortles has had a remarkable year as the second-year quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We talked about it in the open. 27 touchdown passes. Adam, I mean, you consider him with Tom Brady and Carson Palmer. That's incredible.
Yeah, amazing improvement, and exactly what they wanted to see in the second year of Bortles running this system. And when you talked to him in our meetings just yesterday, he said that they really felt like last week's game was one of the first games where everything came together. They're looking to do it back-to-back.
Well, to begin 1st and 10 from the 20, T.J. Yeldon will get most of the carries in the backfield, the rookie out of Alabama. The receiving core is healthy, and Yeldon will take the first carry of the day. And he's stood up by David Perry after a gain of 2. So let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Jaguars. Stefan Wisniewski's had a decent year, but last week's snap about 6 feet over the head of Blake Bortles was kind of a turning point in that loss to the Titans. Specialty guys, they're getting healthier and healthier, and Hearns, who missed last week, is back, and he told us he is ready to go.
And it's kind of amazing because you look at last week, Allen Robinson had 15 targets in that game, 153 yards. It's going to be fun to watch this offense with Allen Hearns back in the lineup.
On second down, a little rollout for Bortles. He does this often, pumps a couple of times. He's got to watch that line, and he throws nearly, and it's caught. It's deflected and caught. Clay Harbor picks it out of the air. It was nearly intercepted, and somehow it stayed alive. Well, D'Qwell Jackson thought he had an INT here.
Well, the Jaguars and
the ball was
Bortles,
caught. First down.
they've done a really nice job anytime he breaks the pocket of his receivers uncovering. And that's just a great job of D'Qwell Jackson keeping that play alive, almost breaking up the pass, but even better concentration.
T.J. Yeldon breaks a couple of tackles, gets another first down inside Colts territory. Mike Adams makes the tackle for Indianapolis, a gain of 14. The Colts defensive line, Zach Kerr, has earned the right to start this week, according to Chuck Pagano, on the defensive line. The linebacking crew, well, like every other linebacking crew, is banged up. C.O. Moore over from the Raiders makes the start. And in the secondary, Jalil Brown, his third tour of duty with the Colts, makes the start for the injured Greg Toller.
What did Mike Adams tell us when we talked to him in our meetings? He said, he used the word anxious. We're anxious to get back on the field and avenge what happened against Pittsburgh last week.
Hey, you asked him about the film of the Steelers. He said, we didn't even watch it. We just burned it. Julius Thomas's first reception of the day takes the Jaguars down to the 42. Dwight Lowry makes the tackle. Jalil Brown is there as well. Well, the Jaguars are still mathematically alive at a 4-8 record because the AFC South is so up for grabs at this point. Second down and 5 for Blake Bortles. Bortles, we said 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Here's Yeldon again, makes a man miss at the line of scrimmage. Down to the 29, Adams makes the tackle. The elusiveness of T.J. Yeldon we saw for the first time the last time these two teams met.
And when you give him a big space like this to operate in, David Perry, the nose tackle, who comes over, tries to get over the top, isn't going to have a chance. Josh McNary, filling in for Jarrell Freeman, playing that will linebacker position, has to do a better job of getting over the top and getting to Yeldon before he picks up a head of steam.
This will be the 6th play for the Jaguars on this drive. They have 3 first downs already. Off the play fake, Bortles looking to throw, middle of the field. His receiver fell down. Intended for Allen Robinson. Vontae Davis was in on the coverage. Incidental contact there?
Yeah, I think it's incidental contact. You're going to watch Robinson. Right as he comes out of his break, the legs of Davis and Robinson just kind of hit. I think that's an excellent no call incidental contact. And Davis looking to get a big bounce back game for that secondary and what happened last week against that Steeler wide receiver core.
I would imagine we'll see him lined up against Robinson as often as possible here today. Second down at 10 from the 29. Inside handoff goes to Yeldon, and he is stopped behind the line of scrimmage by Josh McNary. Might have gotten a yard on that. All right, Adam, let's take a look at our keys to today's ball game.
Well, I think the one thing Indianapolis has to do is sustain drive. Did not do a good job of that last week. Only 3 conversions on third down. You got to stop the big ball defensively. They are the worst team in the league in covering that big ball. Jacksonville continued that red zone success for the first time this season. 6 for 6. You got to do that. And then defensively, they've had a very hard time getting to the quarterback and getting off the field on third downs. You have to pressure Matt Hasselbeck and force him into mistakes.
Third down and 9. It looks like a check down for Bortles. By the way, Marquise Lee, Rashad Green in the game for the first time. Bortles' pass to the left is incomplete, intended for Green. And there is a flag down sitting at the 37. Might have a late hit on Robert Mathis. Carl Cheffers is our referee this afternoon.
Tripping, number 78 offense. That penalty's declined. Result of the play, 4th down.
All right, so it's Jeremy Parnell who is called for the tripping, and the Colts will decline that. And it will be a field goal attempt for the Jags.
You're going to see Jeremy Parnell on the right side. He's going to stick that left leg out and get to Trent Cole. It was a nice, well-designed stunt from the other side of the field that showed Robert Mathis wrapping around inside of that center gap guard and getting a hit on Bortles.
Here's Jason Myers, somewhat maligned. It's a 46-yard field goal attempt. Ryan Anger is the holder. It's a good snap. The kick is on its way, and it is good. Jason Myers, been a lot of topic of conversation this week for Gus Bradley. Matt Hasselbeck will get the ball when we return to Jacksonville. Myers' 46-yard field goal has given the Jaguars a 3-0 lead, 9 plays, 52 yards. The Colts had a chance on a tripping penalty to move the Jaguars back and would have been facing a 3rd and 19. Instead, they declined it and allowed the Jaguars to convert the field goal. So a decision by Chuck Pagano just to not to allow them to stay on the fields. Myers will tee it up at the 35. Back deep to receive is Quan Bray, and he'll take a knee about 10 yards deep. All right, so Matt Hasselbeck will get a chance to run this Colts offense yet again when we come back to Jacksonville.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the NFL. And by the Ford F-150. Every other truck is history.
You might have noticed that Adam Archuleta had a little red hue to him. He spent a little time at Jacksonville Beach the last couple of days. 3-0 Jags on top. First possession for the Colts. Dwayne Allen in motion into the backfield. And the veteran Frank Gore with his first carry of the afternoon. He gains nearly 5 on the play. And Dan Skuta makes the tackle. All right, Matt Hasselbeck, we look at his numbers. This is what a backup quarterback needs to do when your premier quarterback goes down.
Yes, absolutely. You want him to be able to hold the fort and win football games and not allow your season to just completely go in the tank. But last week, and I thought it was very telling when we walked into our meetings and we asked him, how do you feel? He said, well, I felt worse. So it was an honest answer. I don't know how inspiring that's going to be to your football team, but he feels confident that he's going to be able to get the job here done against the Jaguars.
Now, we asked him if he was going to start. He said, yeah, I'm going to start. I'm hoping I'm going to finish. As Andre Johnson makes the reception for a first down. Now the rest of the offense for the Colts and offensive line. Denzel Good, they feel like he's getting better. Now he's at right tackle, so Joe Wrights has to start at left tackle again. And the specialty players, we highlight T.Y. Hilton. He's had a good year, but not the same kind of year as he had a season ago.
I think the one thing that you notice is the fact that they just haven't been able to connect. Even when Luck was starting at quarterback, they tried to force some balls deep to Hilton. They just didn't have that great connection. And now that Hasselbeck has taken over, more conservative offense, more short passes.
Nick Marshall is covering T.Y. Hilton, and Hasselbeck is going for Hilton for the first time. What a catch inside the 40-yard line. And he's dragged out inside the 15. Hasselbeck told us that he would try to exploit certain matchups, and he exploited the rookie Marshall right there for 57 yards.
Well, remember, Nick Marshall played quarterback at Auburn, and he's getting the start here in nickel situations, and this is going to be a very difficult matchup to put him on a guy like T.Y. Hilton. The second play of the game, you see that savviness of Hasselbeck looking outside, seeing that he has a mismatch, and a terrific job by Hilton, winning at the line of scrimmage, getting open, and getting a big play against his secondary.
Hilton now over 900 yards for the season. It's first down from the 11. Gore doing a little dancing, gets inside the 5 before Tyson Alu takes him down. Well, the Jaguars defense, Andre Branch, they're looking for more pressure from the Leo position. That's the position Branch plays. Jordan Tripp taking over for Paul Posluszny, his second year out of Montana. And the secondary, well, we've talked about the lack of interceptions. They need Jonathan Cyprien to really step it up this week. There is Paul Posluszny.
It's about making plays, Tom. In the last 2 weeks, they've given up 568 yards passing against Phillip Rivers, and then, of course, the rookie Marcus Mariota from Tennessee.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Well, we talked about Hasselbeck and also Rob Chudzinski about the communication issues for the Colts, and they get a delay game here. It was a problem last week with Chud taking over as the offensive coordinator. Andrew Luck trying to help things out on the sidelines. Second down and 8 from the 9. I formation, Doyle's the fullback. Gore again tripped up by Aaron Colvin down to the 7-yard line. Matt Hasselbeck told us yesterday that it's all about him to a certain extent as far as the communication goes. He says he has to be better. Rob Chudzinski said, you know, normally it's a different offense that he would like to run, so he's learning that. So you got Luck helping, you have Clyde Christensen helping, the quarterback's coach. Third down from the 7. Moncrief in motion. Hasselbeck throws to Gore, who wasn't looking, covered by Telvin Smith. It'll be fourth down. And that drive really unraveled once they got into the red zone.
Hey, notice one thing from Jacksonville. Last week, they really felt like they had to do something to help their red zone defense, a place where they've really struggled this season. And so you saw a lot of disguising, a lot of movement after the snap, and you know, it caught them out of position a couple times. So coming into this game, I think there's more of a thought that they want to play more straight up, understand what our job is, and they're a very good job of forcing the field goal attempt.
25-yard field goal attempt by the veteran Adam Vinatieri. McAfee is the holder, and for Vinatieri, that is the 495th made field goal in his career. Matt Hasselbeck and the Colts settle for 3. Thursday only on NFL Network, the Bucs chase for a wild card spot heats up when they take on the Rams. Then it's a special Saturday edition of Thursday Night Football as the Jets continue their playoff push against the Cowboys. 2 huge showdowns this week, only on NFL Network. Cowboys are still in the mix in the NFC East. The Jets currently have the 7 seed. They're a half game ahead of the Steelers because of their conference record. Denard Robinson pushed back to the right, 5 yards deep, and he'll just take a knee. Well, they get a field goal, the Colts do, after a big play to T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, the coaching staff here really felt that they wanted to give Nick Marshall a chance to come in here in nickel situations because they felt he would be better and more aggressive at the line of scrimmage. He does a good job of getting his hands on Hilton, but I think this is where you see the experience factor come in. You got a veteran wide receiver that's very good at making adjustments for the ball. You see Marshall lose that ball in the air, and then T.Y. Hilton comes down with the big play. So I would think that they want to put Devon House on T.Y. Hilton and maybe give Marshall a better matchup as the game goes on.
That 57-yard gain is what resulted in the field goal. Bortles under pressure. He's hit as he tries to throw. It's a loose ball, and it's rolling along the 11. Trent Cole knocked it loose, and it's recovered by the Jaguars.
Ruling on the field is a fumble, recovered by a teammate. Second down.
Well, Colts fans, Tom, looking for this. Trent Cole, look at how he uses his hands right there. He just swats the hands of the left tackle, Luke Jokel, beats him to the outside and is able to get to Bortles. Just a great job using that left hand as he turns the corner, getting that ball out of Bortles' hands, but that was won at the line of scrimmage on the left tackle.
Boy, both of these teams have talked about improving the pressure, and there's the Colts getting a chance to improve the pressure right there. DeQuell Jackson tips that ball intended for Rashad Green. So it'll be third down.
Well, DeQuell Jackson, remember in their very first meeting back in week 4, was all over the field in their run game. 17 tackles there, easily reads Bortles' eyes, and that really should have been an interception. And DeQuell Jackson came into this game. There was questions on whether or not he was going to play with that quad injury, but one thing that Chuck Pagano said, he said, you know what, that guy is a warrior, and if he practices, he's going to be out there. He's been a big part of this defense.
Third down and 19. A little hitch by Bortles trying to set up the wide receiver screen to Marquise Lee. And Lee took a licking as that ball was off his fingertips. Fourth down. Well, not a clean drive for Gus Bradley's team.
I think the one thing that you should be pleased with for the Indianapolis Colts is, you know, after having that terrible second half last week against Pittsburgh, you know, how are you going to respond against an offense that was red hot last week in the Jacksonville Jaguars, but so far in this game, very disruptive in getting to the passer, forcing a negative plays. One of the things that they have to do here in December as the postseason approaches.
Colts actually have 2 guys deep on this punt from Anger. They're going to get excellent field position. The ball will bounce inside the 50 and take a Jaguars hop. And it's fielded on the outside by Quan Bray, who will be dropped down at the 41. So we'll see if the Colts can get something rolling again offensively when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Better matters. And by Kay Jewelers. Every kiss begins with Kay.
NFL fans, order your holiday gifts from NFLshop.com today and save up to 20% off at the official store of the NFL, NFLshop.com. If you're looking for your Adam Archuleta number 30 Rams jersey, it's the right time to make that order. Make sure you spell his last name right.
1 T, not 2. And that's 31, Tom, not 30.
31, that's right, 31. Flag comes in as Roy Miller. Looked like he jumped.
Encroachment, number 97 defense. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
So Miller called for the penalty. Well, we talked about Hasselbeck yesterday about his role as the starting quarterback, and he said, well, Andrew Luck has sort of become the class clown through all this, but he said he's helped him as the backup more than Hasselbeck thinks he's helped Andrew Luck in past games. On first down and 5, here's Gore. Slips the hole. Jordan Tripp makes the tackle. Let's go to JB in New York for an update for Buffalo and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Here's a combination we'll see often.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor to Sammy Watkins. For Tyrod Taylor's 18th touchdown of the year, 47 yards out, 7-7, Philly and Buffalo.
I know Adam is thinking, oh, man, I would have had that pass. Back to Tom and Adam.
Actually, he's wrong. I would have been blitzing. I would have got to the quarterback before he threw that pass.
Yeah, you did talk to Mike Adams about that. You said that and Telvin Smith, that you like the blitzing more than playing the ball. On first down from the 48. Here's Gore again. Gore down to the 45. So a gain of 3.
I think already, Tom, you're seeing a big attempt to run the football here in this game. And you go all the way back to week 4. They really started out in a lot of empty sets and a lot of quick passing game, and they try to use Frank Gore out of the backfield a lot. I think it's really interesting when you look at this Jacksonville defense that are very good against the run, especially in the middle, that they're continuing to use that running game in front Gore to try and loosen up that defense.
Yeah, even if it's unsuccessful, they want to run the ball because they want to have that option. That ball is tipped at the line of scrimmage. And it's incomplete. Third down. Intended again for Gore.
It was a really good job by Telvin Smith. Pressure off of the left side of Hasselbeck by Josh Evans, the free safety. And Smith did a good job of getting in the window of that slant route and then using that great speed to get out there to Gore.
Oh, now third down and 7. Last week, the Colts were 1 for 6 in the red zone, 3 of 14 on third down. They said they have to improve both of those categories. Out of the shotgun is Hasselbeck. Middle of the field, incomplete, intended for Dante Moncrief, and Devon House, who's really established himself as a cover guy this year as a starter, makes the play defensively.
And this is what they're looking for. Bob Babbage, the defensive coordinator, and Gus Bradley is getting off the field, and you see a lot more of this. Telvin Smith, who had a strip sack last week, a lot more pressure here in the last few games. He's trying to turn the corner, but what they really need are the defensive backs in the corners making more plays on the football. That's something that they just haven't been able to do consistently this season on third down.
Rashad Green back deep to receive the punt from Pat McAfee. Green will let this one go over his head. Moncrief tried to save it, but it goes into the end zone. So the Jaguars will begin 1st and 10 from their 20. Not a great drive the last time for Bortles. He'll get another shot. Aerial coverage of today's game is provided by MetLife. Practice the other day, the MetLife limp was overhead. Jaguars said, hey, it must be a big game. From the 20, third possession of the day, and a 3-3 ball game. TJ Yeldon has stood up behind the line of scrimmage, and that's the kind of pressure the Colts wants here this afternoon.
The big story of the game last week is the fact that they weren't able to even sniff Ben Roethlisberger. Here in the first 2 series of the game, you get a hit on the quarterback by Robert Mathis. You see very active in the run game, and then Trent Cole coming around the corner and getting a strip sack. And for a Jacksonville team that only gave up 2 sacks last week, here on the first 2 drives has to do a better job of solving the pressure from the Indianapolis defense.
Just took a peek at the very animated Greg Minuski as Yeldon runs again. This time gets 5 before he's tripped up, maybe by his own man. DeQuell Jackson will be credited with the tackle, and why not? He's the leading tackler in the National Football League.
And one thing that, you know, the Colts, they're struggling a little bit at linebacker, Tom. Eric Walden, one of their best edge setters in the run game, he's out this week with a foot. Jarrell Freeman, who has been outstanding versus the run, he's out. So now you got DeQuell Jackson and Seal Moore making the start. So I anticipate Jacksonville continuing to test the run defense of the Indianapolis Colts and those linebackers.
Third down and a manageable 5. DeQuell Jackson's showing blitz from the outside. Pressure's coming, and Bortles is dropped. DeQuell Jackson picks up his 3rd sack of the year. He was creeping up to that defensive line.
Well, he's having a monster game right here. See number 52, and then Clayton Geathers on the other side. He's bluffing. Geathers drops out, but DeQuell Jackson just beating the block inside. You had great pressure coming from the edge, which didn't allow Bortles to escape outside the pocket. And again, this is a great pressure game so far from Greg Minuski and his defense.
So the Jaguars will be forced to punt for a 2nd time. Anger's last punt, 51 yards. This is a wobbler. Bray will take it inside the 40. He has a blocker, and he's going to get inside Jacksonville territory, but there is a flag sitting at the 42-yard line. They threw it in the direction of DeJohn Smith. So we'll see what kind of field position Matt Hasselbeck will get on this possession.
He might get a block in the back. I think
Third in
Smith
the return,
hit
illegal block in the back. Number 30, receiving team. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
All right, so they'll move the ball back for the Colts. Let's go to New York and JB with an update of the Bengals and the Steelers.
Cincinnati scare.
Yeah, watch right here. You're going to see the interception by Stephen Tuitt, but watch the right hand of Andy Dalton. It's going to hit Stephen Tuitt on the tackle. He went out, returned questionable with a right thumb injury.
We'll keep you updated on that one. Tom and Adam.
Boy, that is a big-time injury right there. Bengals 8-1 in the conference this year.
That's devastating.
That is devastating. From the 32, here's Gore running left, and Gore is taken down by Telvin Smith from behind. Well, we said it's up for grabs in the AFC, but the Bengals earn home field right now because of their record within the conference. We see all the teams that are in the hunt, but you can add other teams if you want to from the hunt standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, that's unbelievably huge. I mean, Cincinnati has a major chance here to get that home field advantage. That's something that you desperately want to wrestle away from the New England Patriots, and you just hope that, you know, whatever happens to Dalton is not something that's long-term that's going to affect him. But that's one of the hottest football teams in the National Football League. That cannot happen in December.
Second down and 7. Another run for Gore, hitting the backfield and slowed, but he keeps his feet moving. Tripp will be credited with the tackle. But give some credit to Chris Smith, who we were told was going to get some more time today on the outside for the Jaguars.
They're looking for more production from their defensive ends. They want to get more pressure on the quarterback, and they thought that Chris Smith really, because of the way he has practiced, deserves that opportunity. Now the question is, they said, can they put it from the practice field to the game field? Could he do it on game day? But there's no question they're looking for more production from that defensive end spot.
Yeah, they talked about him with that. They talked about Tripp with that. It's third down and 7, and a toss to the outside. It's complete to Zerlon, tipped it, and he's inside Jacksonville territory. He was left wide open to the 38. It's a gain of 27.
Well, sometimes this is what happens. You live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. Everybody is here, and then Tipton's going to come out of the backfield. This is a scat protection where they're using Tipton releasing to beat the defense. And you see somebody in that defense with an assignment error, and a great job by Hasselbeck to recognize that flaw in the defense and get it out and gash the Jags out of the backfield.
Gain of 27. Gore is back in. Hasselbeck to the far side of the field for Moncrief. Well, he's a little more productive than last week, as the reception is made a yard shy of the first down.
That's a good point, Tom. And when you look at this offense, their playmakers just didn't get a lot of touches last week. You know, 1 target for Moncrief last week. T.Y. Hilton not heavily involved. Andre Johnson had a catch, a slant and go in the red zone. But the key to getting those weapons touches is sustaining drives and getting more of those opportunities.
Another chance for Gore, who powers his way down to the 25. Telvin Smith credited with the tackle after a gain of 3. You want to talk about 2 inspirational coaches, Chuck Pagano and Gus Bradley. They go to every playbook in the world outside of the playing field to get their point across. I know we get a chance to do a lot of Colts and Jaguars games, but we enjoy meeting with them because you feel pumped up when you leave the room.
Sure do. Really enjoy our time with both of these 2 head coaches. Terrific, high-quality leaders.
First down from the 25. Hasselbeck has some time. Pass is complete to T.Y. Hilton. And Devon House had the coverage down to the 10. And that is the end of the first quarter. We're tied up at 3. We'll return to Jacksonville after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. Well, if you're not going to be at a Jaguars game, you might as well be on the St. Johns River, because it is a gorgeous day here in Jacksonville. We're tied at 3 as we begin the second quarter, but the Colts inside the red zone. They had a little issue the last time they were inside the red zone. Let us see if they can figure some things out here on 1st and 10. Frank Gore's been a workhorse. 8 rushes so far. He's in the back of that I formation. Off the play fake, Hasselbeck looking left, and he just dumps it off. The ball took a hop. However, Jared Odrick,
incomplete. Eligible receiver number 23 was in the area. Second down.
Jared Odrick decided to go for a little sprint.
You see Odrick fall to the ground right there. You see him just kind of kick that leg out, try to get a ricochet interception.
Yeah, he's trying to sell it. One of the more flamboyant guys that you'll talk to. On second down, here's Gore trying to find the edge. Well, good pursuit by the Jaguars. Avery Jones makes the tackle.
Well, that's Frank Gore's 9th carry of the game today. So you can see a big commitment to the run, and you got to ask yourself, big reason is Paul Posluszny not in the lineup? And you remember he went out of the game the last time these 2 teams played. The last time he missed the game was against Tampa Bay, where Doug Martin gassed him for about 183 yards. So we got to watch the backup, Jordan Tripp, and see how he does tackling in the middle of that defense.
Pretty even dispersion so far in this drive. 4 passes, 4 runs. Hasselbeck to throw for the 5th time. A flag is down. Tipton has it. Telvin Smith takes him down inside the 5, but there's a flag on the far side of the field. Carl Cheffers, his 8th year as a referee in the National Football League. That's going to go against the Colts.
Illegal formation, offense. An eligible receiver covered up another eligible receiver. That penalty declined, 4th down.
So they declined the penalty and decide not to give the Colts another chance. And Adam Vinatieri will come on for the field goal attempts. What can you say about Adam Vinatieri? 20th year, 42 years old, 495 made field goals, the 3rd most in the National Football League, tied with Jason Hansen. And he just keeps on going.
Well, you love talking about him.
I do.
With me, don't you, Tom?
I do. You brought it up yesterday to Chuck Pagano, 21-yard field goal attempt, because he was talking about him, and you made sure you brought up the Super Bowl where he won it against the Rams. He's given the Colts the 3-point lead. Saturday, the CBS Sports Classic shows off 4 teams where big games are part of the drill as the Bruins battle the Tar Heels and the Buckeyes tangle with the Wildcats. It all begins with Inside College Basketball. UCLA already has a big win this year against Kentucky. We're going to get you onto the Bob Hurley Arizona State basketball bandwagon.
Yeah, that's going to work. Considering my affinity for college hoops, I guess.
So did you go to a lot of Sun Devils basketball games?
You know what? I hate to admit it. I'm not a big fan of college basketball. I don't know what to tell you. It's just sometimes I'd rather sit on my iPhone and play Bejeweled than watch a college basketball game.
Here's Denard Robinson. The ball goes over his head out of the end zone. Nice catch by the guy in the back. Blake Bortles, well, he's had trouble with the pressure so far, but a big improvement from last year. You talked about it during the Open, Adam.
Yeah, one of the biggest places where he's improved is just under pressure. I mean, last year when teams pressured him, he was, to put it quite bluntly, he was terrible. But this year, under pressure, he has greatly improved his quarterback rating, his completion percentage. And the thing that I saw last week against Tennessee was how he worked inside the pocket and went through his progressions. That was an outstanding game played by Bortles.
Over his last 4 and his last 6 opportunities. Julius Thomas can't hang on to that one. DeQuell Jackson knocked it loose. 6 dropbacks. Last 7 dropbacks. He's 0 for 5 now with 2 sacks.
And look, it's the pressure has been a part of it. The Colts coming out fired up, ready to play here. But then, I mean, you've seen DeQuell Jackson make a couple plays already in coverage. So just a passing game that isn't quite in sync. And I think Mike Adams and the secondary really eager to prove themselves here so far, playing an outstanding game.
2nd down and 10. That's Hearns in motion. Yeldon will take the handoff. Not much there. He keeps his feet moving and gains 3. Jonathan Newsom, one of a handful that were there. C.O. Moore was there too. Well, Greg Olson has made a drastic impact on this Jaguars offense. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. You see that they're just a much more comfort level with Bortles. He understands so more about what's happening this season.
Well, we got some movement. A
Ball
flag
start,
comes
number
flying.
68, offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Zane Beadles.
Little flinch right there by the left guard, Zane Beadles.
So nearly 2 minutes into the 2nd quarter. 6-3 Indianapolis lead. Each team with 2 penalties so far. To that first drive, it just seems like the Jaguars are just going the wrong way. Bortles in the pocket, not much there. Dumps it off to Yeldon. And Yeldon is tracked down by Gathers. And some booze flowing through Everbank Stadium.
Isn't it funny what a little bit of success does here for the fans? You know, you see this offense explode last week for 39 points. Here in the first 3 series of the game, they've struggled to get anything going offensively, and already the fans kind of turning on this offense a little bit. But you got to credit, you know, Indianapolis and the way they've been able to cover these receivers and then match that up with their pressure and getting to Bortles.
Quan Bray back deep to receive. After 3 straight 3-and-outs, that ball was nearly blocked. And Bray will take it at the 28. Doing a little assessing, but then decides to go out of bounds. Thurston Armbrister makes the tackle. 53-yard punt, but it was nearly blocked. And Anger gets it away. McNary nearly got a hand on it.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Dodge, McDonald's, teaming up with the NFL like never before, and by Best Buy. Win the holidays.
Down at Jacksonville Beach, they have this program, Deck the Chairs. It's volunteer lifeguards decorating chairs for the holidays, raising money for volunteer lifeguards. You'll see some of those lifeguards here at Everbank Fields. It'll be first down from the 28 for the Colts, up 6-3. Hasselbeck, 6 of 10, 122 yards so far. Off the play fake. Has plenty of time. Looking to the far side for Fleener, and he let him just a little bit too much. Now that is one that Hasselbeck's going to want back.
Remember, this play is, you remember that play to Fleener in overtime in their first game, the same exact route. This time, Sergio Brown is playing man-to-man coverage. Fleener with a great adjustment down the field, but Hasselbeck just not able to connect. That would have been a major play for the Colts.
Well, the Colts certainly have done well between the 20s so far in this half. They've settled for 2 field goals. Here's Gore. And Gore up to the 31 before he is stopped by Jonathan Cyprien. 10 carries now for Gore, 33 yards. Chuck Pagano has loved the fact that he's had Gore and Andre Johnson and their veteran presence in this locker room. He recruited both of them at the University of Miami, had a previous relationship with them, and recruited him again to come to Indianapolis. Gore's out, Tipton's in. He's been effective. Third down. Hasselbeck has time again, slings it to Tipton. Boy, what an impact he's had on the Colts offense. Devon House shuttles him out of bounds, but he gains another first down, a gain of 12.
Oh, this is a really good job by Hasselbeck buying time, and he sees Tipton come out of the backfield. That's a tackle right there that you have to make. And when you look at this defense, boy, they have been hurt so bad this year in missed tackles in the secondary. Anytime they've been able to make big plays, get behind them, it's always been inferior tackle by their defensive backs. Now you give Indianapolis another chance.
Yeah, Gus Bradley talked about that. He said that he had them with 16 missed tackles last week. Hasselbeck trying for a home run ball for Moncrief, and he got tied up with Sergio Brown. Well, we talked about this during the outset. They've won 16 straight games within the division. It's an NFL record. I mean, that's all part of their success in the AFC South. And you take a look at their last divisional loss, came in December of 2012. That's the number that stands out, huh? 18-15 against all other teams?
It's actually pretty remarkable. I don't know. I mean, it either tells you how bad the AFC South has been. But that's a major stat that you really wouldn't expect. Almost 500 against the rest of the National Football League. But I think things are changing here in the AFC South by some of these young quarterbacks.
Second down. And Hasselbeck led Andre Johnson too much. Odrick was in his back pocket. So was Dan Skuda.
A great job. Frank Gore, you're going to see him come across the formation and just cut down Dan Skuda coming off of the edge. That's one of those plays as a defensive player. You see the running back lined up on the other side of the quarterback. You think you're going to get a free shot, and then he comes over across the field and knifes you at the knees.
See the 14 conversions on third down and 10 or more. Tied for most in the NFL for the Colts. They're facing a 3rd and 10 here. Pressure's coming. Hasselbeck is going down. Aaron Colvin and Andre Branch.
Aaron Colvin, the nickelback, coming right here through the line. This is an all-out zero blitz. There is no free safety in the middle of the field. And what does that mean? That means that you're going to have one more rusher than they're going to have blockers. There's somebody that's going to come free, and you have to know to get that ball out of your hands as soon as possible and make those adjustments in the passing routes. so far today, pressure working for Bob Babich and Gus Bradley on defense.
Rashad Green back deep to receive. There is Andre Branch. That's his 3rd sack of the year. They wanted more from that Leo position, that end position. And with the help of Aaron Colvin, they got a little bit more there. So 4th and 21 as McAfee will punt it away. And he punts it away from Rashad Green and out of bounds. Only a 3-point lead for the Colts. What could the Jags do when we come back on offensive ends? A season of fan favorites and incredible competition comes to $1 million conclusion. Find out who will emerge as sole survivor and see the castaways reunite. Live Wednesday starting at 8/7 Central only. CBS. There's TJ Yeldon, who's sustained an ankle injury and is questionable. That's going to hurt the Jags moving forward if he cannot return.
Yeah, they're just not deep there. Now Denard Robinson, who only has 28 attempts on the season, is going to slide into that role. He had 3 carries for 21 yards last week, but certainly a position where the Jaguars are struggling with their depth.
2 tight ends on the left side of the offensive line. Off the play fake, Bortles will roll, looking to throw on the run, and he wobbles it out of bounds, intended for Allen Robinson. Well, the last 4 possessions for the Jags, field goal, punt, punt, and punt. This is their best starting position by 1 yard.
Yeah, look, when you talk, they were so excited about the progress that they made last week, but the thing that Gus Bradley stressed so much is the fact that they've got to do it this week. And last week, 10 for 14 on 3rd down, 75%. And so far in this game, 0 for 4 on 3rd down. That's a big reason they just haven't been able to get things going. Carrying things over from week to week has been a big struggle for this team.
Yeah, this is their 14th play since their last first down. They've got one. Allen Hurns on the sidelines. Jalil Brown was in on the coverage. Little back shoulder zip by Blake Bortles.
Well, this might be the matchup that you have to go after. Just a nice little stutter release off the line of scrimmage, and that's just great chemistry between Hurns and Bortles. A perfectly thrown pass right to the backside of that hip. And then you see Hurns make that adjustment. But remember, last time these teams played, Vontae Davis had a pretty good game against Allen Robinson, and Hurns was the featured target.
16-yard gain. Here's Denard Robinson, who slips through a hole. Flag comes in. He's inside Indianapolis territory for the time being. Darius Butler makes the tackle, but we probably have holding against Jacksonville.
Holding. Number 89 offense. 10-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
Mercedes Lewis, the tight ends, one of 3 tight ends for the Jags. He's the veteran. Called for the holding penalty.
I think you're going to see it's pretty blatant. Mercedes Lewis is going to be right here, and he's going to be blocking number 92, Bjorn Werner. As you see here at the end of this play, right there, you see that right arm or that right hand grab that jersey. And Mercedes Lewis maybe not having the biggest impact in terms of pass catching this season, but he's a pretty darn good blocker at tight end, and a big reason when they have success running the ball, it's usually because of his blocking at the point of attack.
You see the total yards a week ago. They're not on the same pace here, trying to set up the little tight end screen to Lewis. Little ballet dancing across the 35, and he's upended across the 40. Darius Butler makes the tackle.
See, number 89, he's not even faking blocking. There's nobody for him to block, but they run all the receivers to the other side of the field, and a good job by the left side of that offensive line, getting outside on the edge and getting some of that yardage back. Now 2nd and 6, much better place to be offensively after a big penalty.
Gus Bradley talked about success on 1st down, success on 2nd down, that his team has been good in his eyes. It's getting that success on 3rd, but they've got 2nd down and 6 here. Robinson is tripped up from behind. Let's head to New York for an update. JB, Coach Cowher.
Sam Bradford delivers.
Yeah, he sure does, JB. Steps up into the pocket, finds Nelson Aguilar for his 53-yard touchdown pass. It puts the Eagles up 14-7 over Buffalo.
10:34 left in the 2nd. Back to Tom McCarthy and Adam Archuleta.
You know, we talk about the AFC South, JB, and how 500 could win it. Well, the same could be said for the NFC East. I mean, look at that logjam. Even the Cowboys are still within reach in last place at 4-8. On 3rd down, Bortles slings it inside the numbers, and that really didn't develop the way the Jags had hoped. It's 4th down, and they'll be forced to punt yet again.
Yeah, just a great job playing your coverage back deep and using your help. You're going to see the corner right here and the safety right here. Dwight Lowry, he's watching this receiver the entire way. Look at where his eyes are on the snap. He knows that they're going to try and pump that ball deep, but anytime you have a corner playing underneath and a free safety playing over the top, there's nowhere to throw the ball. Great job down the field by that secondary.
For their last 5 on 3rd down opportunities. Quan Bray back deep to receive. Brian Anger gets this one off, but he falls to the ground. No flag. Bray will let it bounce at the 20, and it takes a Colts bounce toward the 25-yard line. Boy, Anger's feeling the pressure just as Blake Bortles is feeling the pressure. Was there contact again? Let's see what you think.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Zales. Declare your love with gifts from Zales, the Diamond Store. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Let's look at the landing here in Jacksonville. Hey, Jaguars coach Gus Bradley's son Eli played in the National Pop Warner playoffs this week. The Ponte Vedra Sharks lost in the semifinals, falling 1 game short of the Pop Warner Super Bowl. The young Bradley scored on that touchdown run. That's a team that had Jason Babin's son on it and was coached by Todd Fordham and Kyle Brady, both NFL players during their time. And they were all trying to get to the right for Super Bowl 59. Gus ran through the plays of that game that his son had. Super Bowl 59, that means that when you started Pop Warner at the age of 10, you would have been vying for Super Bowl 31 in Disney.
Yeah, there you go. I remember those. I was a backup tight end at that age, and tell you what, when they called wide delay, that was my jam, baby. I knew I was getting that one play, and I was good for like 8 yards.
Boy, I wish they would use wide delay a little bit more. On 2nd down, pass is incomplete. It'll be 3rd down. Well, it's about 3 hours or so to Orlando, where they're playing Super Bowl 59, all age groups. And Gus Bradley said it would have been great to see those kids get a chance there. Chuck Pagano's team is hoping that they can convert on 3rd down and 9. Neither team stunning today on 3rd down opportunities, but the Colts have the lead.
Jacksonville featuring a lot of pressure here early on the game on 3rd downs, but expect a little bluff up inside and then dropping back and playing max coverage.
Tripp is bluffing. Now he backs up. Hasselbeck steps up. He shovels forward. Flag comes in. Here's Tipton. He's got a 1st down, but again, there is a flag in the backfield. Nick Marshall makes the tackle on Zerlon Tipton.
Holding. Number 76 offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
That's Joe Wright, who's holding down the left tackle position while Anthony Costanzo's out with a sprained MCL.
But it's a great job of disguising. I think this is Telvin Smith coming off the side. But you see the disguise right here, bringing the free safety pressure. That's Josh Evans. And then Telvin Smith coming off of that left side, beating Joe Wright. And I thought it was pretty funny when we talked to Telvin Smith about blitzing. What did he tell us?
Give me 3, I'll get you 1.
Give me 3, I'll get you 1, baby. So far, he's blitzed about 3 times. It's time for him to come through. At least he was able to draw that holding penalty.
All right, 3rd down and 19 for the Colts. Hasselbeck will roll the pocket. He's just trying to buy some room, and he can't. Chris Smith was the guy applying the pressure. Odrick was too. Odrick thought he was held. There's Smith. And Pat McAfee will punt the ball away.
It's amazing what 1 week can do and how different a football team can play from week to week. And, you know, we talked to Gus Bradley about them bringing a little bit more pressure, and he said that, you know, in the middle of the season, they thought that, you know, they needed to create more disruption. And so they used it a lot against Buffalo, and they were able to get 2 pick sixes in that game. But as the season went on, the production from blitzing didn't really match the risk that they were getting. Well, here today, blitzing on 3rd down has caused this offense a lot of problems.
McAfee just barely gets the ball off. Sergio Brown was pursuing. And it takes a Colts bounce out of bounds inside the 40, close to the 36. Week 14 continues later today on Fox. And then tonight with Sunday Night Football on NBC. And don't forget, tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football On ESPN, the Giants in the thick of the NFC East. Tom Coughlin said this week, we'll win some games when we deserve some games. Take a look at the game summary. Well, we talked about it. Third down conversions don't always tell the story, but for these two teams, it tells the story.
Absolutely. I mean, you see early, maybe the Jaguars defensively playing a little bit of bend but don't break defense, holding up in the red zone. But here, after those first two series, they've been tough and have done a great job of shutting down that third down offense.
TJ Yeldon, by the way, is back in for the Jags. Had that ankle injury, Bortles, and his pass is nearly intercepted. Intended for Rashad Green. Darius Butler broke it up. He hesitated just a little bit on that pass play.
Well, it was great coverage, and they're trying to get Rashad Green, who I think can kind of emerge as a matchup guy in the slot. The fact that he has such great acceleration skills and is able to get that start and stop ability, he's trying to work on Darius Butler, and that was just a great job in man-to-man coverage of Butler coming underneath and breaking up that pass.
Bortles so far 5 of 13. C.O. Moore showing blitz. The handoff to Yeldon, dances away from the defenders. And Vontae Davis will take him down. He was able to get 3. Trent Cole was there as well, and Davis is hurt. They're already without Greg Toller. Winston Guy was deemed inactive today. And that is not something the Colts fans want to see. Vontae Davis down on his back, injured on this play, trying to tackle TJ Yeldon. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights, as well as a preview of Thursday Night Football, only on NFL Network. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report.
Got Marquise Lee on DeJohn Smith at the bottom, coming in for Vontae Davis.
And Davis, by the way, did walk off limping as Bortles' pass is deflected at the line of scrimmage. It'll be 4th down. We're taking a look at Vontae Davis's knee as we speak.
I tell you, Tom, DeQuell Jackson having himself a game. I mean, wrapping around right there, coming on a blitz, getting his hands up, deflecting that ball. We've seen him involved in run plays, pass plays, blitzing. I mean, he has just been a big part of this defense, having another day here against the Jags.
Well, he's helped force now 5 punts for Jacksonville. They have 4 first downs, and this will be their 5th punts. I want the number to go the other way. This is a good one, though, by Anger. Quan Bray will call for the fair catch, and he has it at the 14. Matt Hasselbeck and his team up 6-3. We talked about his success in place of Andrew Luck. He said yesterday, he goes, I need to be better, though. I can't be the way I was last week. And see his 4 wins at the age of 40 or older. He's among the leaders of all time.
Last week they really struggled against the blitz, and I think today you look at the stats and it kind of bears it out. You know, 3 of his 4 interceptions this season have come against the blitz. His completion percentage drops from 68% to 55%. And Tom, his quarterback rating nearly cuts in half, 102 versus 63. So right now, Jacksonville seeing that on tape and having the same success.
Well, they're showing blitz. He'll roll the pocket a little bit, throws to the left side, has T.Y. Hilton, and Devon House can't make the tackle. And here's T.Y. Hilton dancing through midfield and down to the 45. Josh Evans will be credited with the tackle, 41-yard gain. And T.Y. Hilton is over 100 yards in this first half.
A really good job of max protecting right here, and that's going to allow T.Y. Hilton the chance to work on House as he goes across the field. You see the bootleg action. Everybody stays in there to block, and you give T.Y. Hilton that much time, he's going to be able to separate. Excellent job of play calling to get going here on first down.
Yeah, we talked about statistically, he's not having the same year as last year when he had over 1,300 yards, but he's getting there. Frank Gore juggles. He's trying to run before he caught it. Breaks the tackle from Telvin Smith, but still loses ground on first down.
Well, you talk about Telvin Smith and his speed, well documented. And it's really difficult for an offense to screen Jacksonville. I mean, you've seen a little success at times this year when they catch him on a blitz, but if number 50 is back there and he's in coverage and he has eyes on the football, not very many chances that your offensive line is going to be able to tackle him in space.
Second down at 11. So Hasselbeck is 9 of 18 for 174 yards. 112 of that has gone to T.Y. Hilton. Boom Herron is in for the first time. He'll make the catch out of the backfield. Jonathan Cyprien, Nick Marshall in on the coverage. Well, I guess they have to give Frank Gore a breather every once in a while.
They just don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of depth.
Zerline Tipton and Boom Herron catching the ball out of the backfield. The Jags certainly missed that guy, although Jordan Tripp has played well so far in his absence. Paul Posluszny. 3rd and 7. You see the comparisons between the two teams. Tipton is in the backfield. Bunch formation on the near side. Hasselbeck looks to the far side, and his pass is incomplete, intended for Dante Moncrief. And there's Nick Marshall. One-on-one on the outside, being aggressive.
A great job, and the best thing that he does is that he gets his hands on Moncrief. Doesn't disrupt it that much. Hasselbeck is forced to throw that at the back shoulder of Moncrief, but Nick Marshall in great body position down the field. But you see, he still has to get some experience playing that football when it's in the air. He has a tendency to get lost, but a great recovery after getting beat early in the game by T.Y. Hilton.
Jags have struggled the last couple of years. One of the positives, though, is that the staff has been able to be the staff for the Senior Bowl, and that's where they saw Nick Marshall for the first time as a defensive back. McAfee's punt is inside the 10, and it'll be stopped at the 5. Dwayne Allen in on special teams, a 37-yard punt. Tomorrow on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Stephen welcomes Jennifer Lawrence. Plus, later this week, Robert De Niro and Homeland's Mandy Patinkin. Only CBS. Well, it's not a Rembrandt so far for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have 5 punts since that field goal, 4 3-and-outs. But they have the ball down by only 3.
And Bortles this season has been very good in the last 5 minutes of the first half and the last 5 minutes of the game. They've scored 10 touchdowns. That's first in the National Football League. So they got to get something going right here.
Here's Yeldon. Breaks one tackle, steps inside and gets up close to the 10. Trent Cole makes the tackle as we head toward the 2-minute warning. Here in Jacksonville, it's a 6-3 ball game. Not a whole lot of offense. We'll see if the Jags can get something when we come back. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights, as well as a preview of Thursday Night Football, only on NFL Network. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. We'll follow up on the Andy Dalton injury in the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. Plus the Bills and the Eagles. A lot of offense in that one. Nice, a bad snap off the fingertips of Bortles and recovered in the end zone by Robert Mathis. Touchdown, Indianapolis. Second straight week that a bad snap has led to points for the other team.
This can't be real. You can't be unbelievable again. I mean, it's really kind of unreal that the snaps have played significant roles in this game. And even that, you go back to a couple weeks ago against San Diego, right before halftime, they throw a costly interception, and they're part of the field that leads to a touchdown that really hurt them in that game. But that's pretty unbelievable. That another bad snap leads to 6 points.
They had one a week ago that was detrimental to the Jaguars' cause, as Vinatieri's on for the point after. And Wisniewski immediately practicing his snaps. And he's doing so from the shotgun position. Now, Sam Young is not Blake Bortles.
I mean, this one, I think it hit Blake's hand. I mean, it was a little high into his right.
Vinatieri's point after is good. Well, it might have been a little hot, but it certainly was manageable for Blake Bortles. It results in a touchdown for the Colts. Mathis all over it. A tough loss last week to the Tennessee Titans. There's a lot that went wrong, but this was huge. This snap went way over the head of Blake Bortles' head and rolled toward the end zone and recovered by the Titans for a score. And now, moments ago, another bad snap. This one, though, might be on Blake Bortles instead of Wisniewski.
Well, yeah, last week, I mean, Blake Bortles didn't even have a chance, and maybe this one was a little high and to his right, but that's, I mean, he gets two hands on that. That's just a lapse in concentration, and Gus Bradley has to be beside himself right now, Tom.
Absolutely. Denard Robinson will let this one go by him. What did Blake tell us this week? He said after Wisniewski snapped it over his head, they kind of looked at each other, and Wisniewski said, "Was that my bad?" And Blake just said, "Look at the replay." This week.
Well, you know, I asked him, I said, are snaps an issue? Are you worried about the snap? And he said that no. He said that one, he had no idea where that came from, that he never had a high snap like that before. But here, 2 weeks in a row, I mean, those are two tremendous mistakes, giving points to the other team.
10-point lead for the Colts, 1:56 to play first half. 3 timeouts for the Jags. And Marquise Lee was trying to run before he caught the ball. It'll be second down. T.Y. Hilton has 112 combined yards today. The Jaguars have 86 combined yards today.
Yeah, right off the bat. And he did what the Jaguars are usually used to doing. And that's, you know, he hit the defense for a big play. Third play of the game. And you light it up for 57 yards. That was a major play for T.Y. Hilton.
Still plenty of time for the Jags with those 3 timeouts. And this time, Lee is able to grab it, breaks a tackle at the 35. And gets up across the 40 before Darius Butler takes him down. They're content with not using their timeouts because they have plenty of time with this no-hurry offense.
Yeah, absolutely. You got 3 timeouts, you know, a minute, 35 seconds left, plenty of time.
Bortles steps up in the pocket, middle of the field, passes complete to Julius Thomas. First catch of the day, or in the second quarter for Julius Thomas, his second overall. DeQuell Jackson takes him down. It's a gain of 30.
We talked about how good Bortles has been at the end of the half and the end of games. And he likes to thrive in kind of this 2-minute no-huddle offensive attack. And here you go. You know, Marquise Lee makes the big catch and run, and then Indianapolis completely drops Julius Thomas in the middle of the field. Sometimes maybe you wonder, should they go to this style of offense a little bit more? Now to their defense, Indianapolis playing more of a softer coverage, you know, trying to rally up and not let anything get up, you know, behind him. But, you know, he's been very efficient and accurate when they've been forced to be in these situations.
Jags use their first timeout. They have 2 left, 1:22 to play, down by 10. Bortles hitches once, pressure's coming, fumbles the ball! Picked up by Indianapolis, gathers into Jaguars territory and pushed out of bounds inside the 35. Mike Adams with the pressure, Gathers with the cleanup.
Ruling on the field is a fumble, recovered by the defense. First down, Indianapolis.
This is a late blitz, and Bortles never sees it. I mean, Adams blitzes from almost 10 yards off the ball at the snap of the ball. Bortles, he doesn't know he's there, so that is a free rusher, and just a great job by Mike Adams, the veteran safety in this defense, who has been a turnover-making machine here in the last two seasons. Makes another big play. I mean, this is a self-destruction here at the end of the first half by the Jacksonville offense.
And now you have the Colts with 3 timeouts left. They forced 2 turnovers in the last minute. It was a 29-yard return on the fumble, and Hasselbeck has it knocked away. It's picked up by Andre Branch. He's going to go. Gus Bradley, Bob Babich wanted pressure from the Leo position. Well, they're getting it.
Here he is, Denzel Good, playing right tackle here for the 3rd game in a row, and he just gets beat by Branch. And you mentioned it, they want to get more pressure out of that position. Andre Branch missed the first 3 games of the season. He's in the middle of a contract year. And that ball, to me, is out before Hasselbeck is able to get that ball moving forward. That's
Absolutely.
a great play and a great instincts for Branch to reach in there and slap that ball away.
Oh no, Jason Myers' point after is no good. It's his 7th miss of the season after 2 big ones last week. It's a 4-point game.
That's pretty unbelievable too, Tom.
It hit the flag.
Wow.
Well, it's no longer a gimme in the National Football League. Last season there were 8 misses. Last week there were 8 misses. There have been 58 missed extra points this year. Well, the NFL doing their research, they knew it would kind of change the game. It's changed the game.
For some teams.
For some teams. There's still about a half dozen teams who have not missed an extra point this year. Gus Bradley was asked a lot after last week's game whether he was thinking about making a change at the place kicking position. He kind of said it's a little late in the year. They feel like this kid is going to be an excellent place kicker in the National Football League. 1:01 to play here in the first half. Oh man. A little bit of a Bronx cheer as he kicked that one through the uprights in the kickoff. There is a flag down. Now last week Jason Myers, 2 missed extra points. 1 to the right and 1 to the left.
Yeah, which made Jacksonville go for the 2-point conversion.
Correct.
Which then now you're down by 3 points. You know, easy mathematics says that that's the 3 points that were the difference in the ball game. So, you know, kicking here, you could say has cost this football team a couple of games this season.
We mentioned that there was a flag. It turns out to be unnecessary roughness. Well, he's feeling it. There's Brian Anger, the punter, coming over to talk to the 24-year-old out of Marist.
Boy, what a sequence.
Amazing sequence. And now the Colts with 1:01 to play have 3 timeouts left. They're up by 4. Hasselbeck pumps once. Dante Moncrief was the intended receiver. Well, there have been long moments of this game where it has been unsorted for both teams. I think it's safe to say. And the 3 turnovers have led to the most action we've had in the first 30 minutes of this game.
Yeah, both defenses, though, they've come to play here today. I mean, they've done a great job of blitzing. They've done a great job of pressuring. And how about that for an exciting 2 minutes?
Offset I formation, Gore trying to get him back into the swing of things. That has a first down up to the 23. 45 seconds. Colts do not use a timeout here. They have 3 left. You a little surprised they're not using a timeout?
Well, now, based on the field position, you know, a lot of times teams will wait till they get up past the 30-yard line before they maybe think about taking a shot.
Here is Hasselbeck under pressure again. Cuts the ball and is taken down inside the 20-yard line. Chris Clemens, Andre Branch, a little Chris Smith as well.
Great job. Both edge rushers meeting at the quarterback. Andre Branch on the left side. Chris Clemens beating Joe Wrights to the inside on the right side. And right now, Matt Hasselbeck is under intense pressure. It came from the blitz in the middle and early part of the game, but right now the front four
of the first half
really starting to feel it.
Well, we have reached halftime. The Colts will receive the kickoff to begin the second half. They lead at 13-9. We'll be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message. CBS, the home of Super Bowl 50. Pressure's coming. Hasselbeck is going down. As the bad snap off the fingertips of Bortles and recovered in the end zone by Robert Mathis. But Hasselbeck has it knocked away. It's picked up by Andre Branch. He's going to go. Would you believe us if we told you that all that happened in the last 2 minutes of the first half? It's 13-9 Colts on top of the Jaguars. A missed extra point is why the Jaguars have 9 instead of 10. All right, I guess the big topic going into the second half is where is the offense gone for both of these teams?
Yeah, both of these offenses are really struggling right now with pressure. You got to credit both defenses for doing a great job of making things very difficult. Third down conversions have been a major issue. I think if you're Jacksonville, you got to find a way to get the ball to Allen Robinson. 0 catches so far in this game, and I think both teams have to find a way to keep more blockers in and protect their quarterbacks to try and generate some type of offense.
Well, 6 sacks between the two teams. There you see Matt Hasselbeck. His team will get the ball to begin the second half. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to itunes.com/NFL. Take a look at the first half statistics from a team standpoint. Frank Gore has the rushing yards, 48 for the Colts. TJ Yeldon's been in and out because of an ankle injury. 49 total yards for the Jags, and 7 points off turnovers for Indianapolis. 6 points off the turnover, which you saw by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I think, getting the running game involved for Jacksonville is something you've got to loosen up this secondary. Right now, the wide receivers having a very difficult time of gaining separation, and really Bortles hasn't shown that much rhythm or consistency or timing in that part. And then on the other side of the ball, for the second week in a row, I think Indianapolis have really struggled again in protection. They have to start keeping the tight ends in and allowing T.Y. Hilton and Dante Moncrief to work those one-on-one matchups.
Here's Quan Bray back deep to receive, and he'll let that one go over his head and out of bounds. Matt Hasselbeck 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Adam, he started out clean. Hasselbeck did. It was the second quarter that really did him in.
Well, and I think Jacksonville defensively really mixed up their looks, and early in the game they brought a lot of pressures and a lot of man pressures and zone pressures and really started to mix things in. And then I think once they started to get home, you saw the one-on-ones up front being won, and Andre Branch and Chris Clemens started to get in on the action. So a really good mix-up of defensive play calling by Bob Babbage to get Indianapolis off the field.
Out of the shotgun, Hasselbeck dropping back to pass. First play of the second half. It is tipped and incomplete. Telvin Smith nearly intercepted it. Aaron Colvin had the contact on Andre Johnson.
We're going to their 3-step passing game. That's Hasselbeck's specialty. And a great job of Aaron Colvin going over the back, breaking up that pass, and Telvin Smith running from inside out almost is able to come up with a big interception.
I don't know. He said that he liked pursuing the quarterback more than coverage. He's pretty athletic as far as coverage goes. Second down at 10. Empty or one-back set. It's Frank Gore. Off the play fake. Hasselbeck's on to set up the screen to Allen. A flag comes in, and Telvin Smith with a beautiful open field tackle. That's a loss of 9 on the play.
Can't screen him. I don't even know why you try.
It's going to be holding.
Number 83 offense. That penalty's declined. Third down.
He held and then made the reception.
Yeah, Dwayne Allen is going to get called for holding right there on Andre Branch. But watch Telvin Smith. I mean, he's right there. He's spying it the whole way. He's got outside leverage, outside contain, is easily able to play off that block and make the tackle on Allen in the backfield. Don't screen number 50 if you don't want negative plays on offense.
Joe Wrights had no chance to block him out of that play. It's third down and long, 3rd and 19. Hasselbeck from the end zone under pressure, dumps it off to Fleener, and Fleener will be tackled on the outside. Devon House, and he's shy of the line of scrimmage. It'll be a 3-and-out. Chuck Pagano. It's not the way he drew it up. It's the way he wanted his team to start the second half.
Yeah. Well, they made big changes, a big difference in the way they played on defense. And boy, they really felt confident, and especially when we talked to Hasselbeck yesterday about bouncing back after that game last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He felt that he really had good familiarity with how Jacksonville played defense, and they felt getting the ball out of his hands wasn't going to be a problem. Well, that's not the case so far here today.
A booming punt by Pat McAfee. Rashad Green backpedals inside the 20 and out of bounds at the 19-yard line. It didn't go well for Matt Hasselbeck at his first possession. What about Blake Bortles? We'll see about the adjustments when we come back. After halftime adjustments, Blake Bortles will go back to work. His first possession of the second half. His team down by 4. Sometimes his strength is to roll the pocket. He does here, and there's Hearns who grabs it and then makes a man miss. He could go. He's got lightning speed. Allen Hearns, touchdown Jacksonville. 80-yard pass play from Blake Bortles.
This is just a sprint action pass where they're trying to move the pocket and allow Bortles some time to get outside. And boy, I've got to tell you, I don't know how he threaded that ball in there. You had a terrific break from the inside out by the free safety Dwight Lowry. There was pretty solid coverage in there underneath. And old Mr. Reliable, Allen Hearns, comes through with a big play that this offense desperately needed.
2 receptions, 96 yards for Hearns, 80 on that one. And here's Myers. Good snap, good hold. Kick is good. Blake Bortles erupts with an opening quarter. Touchdown to Allen Hearns.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. Kelley Blue Book. Find out what you should pay for your next new car at KBB.com. And by The Revenant, January 8th, only in theaters.
Junior Jaguar cheerleaders getting a chance to perform here at halftime. It inspired Allen Hearns to an 80-yard touchdown pass from Blake Bortles. That's a good phone call when you're talking to your coaches. I mean, he's zeroing in on his first half numbers with one play. Colts will get the ball back, down by 3. And Bray will just grab that one out of the end zone. All right, we got a blimp, so let's use the blimp. Let's use a bird's eye view of that touchdown.
Well, you're going to see Allen Hearns as a slot receiver. He's going to work to the corner, and this is really well played. Dwight Lowry, the free safety, sees this the entire way. And what they're trying to do is give Bortles a chance to get outside the pocket, and then you see him zip that ball right in there with a beautiful pass. But Tom, it takes 2 to make things go right.
Yeah.
That was Allen Hearns with great concentration to come down with it in traffic and get the big play.
I want to congratulate you on utilizing the MetLife blimp so well on that. Here's Hasselbeck, and his pass is nearly intercepted by Devon House. All right, so now the Colts down by 3. As House may have knocked the wind out of himself as he went out of bounds. Down by 3, and they've got to get something going offensively here.
See, House is just reading the eyes of Hasselbeck, and he breaks out to the outside, almost makes a terrific interception.
Well, he is up on his backside. We'll take a break and be back right after this. It's been almost 3 years since the Indianapolis Colts lost a game in the AFC South. They trail it by 3 to Jacksonville with 13:27 to play in the third quarter. Frank Gore, not much there, and he is tripped up by Josh Evans in the backfield. Telvin Smith was pursuing as well. But the Jaguars defense has really made some adjustments here this afternoon against Chuck Pagano's offense.
Yeah, perfectly played out there by Josh Evans, the extra hitter up there in the box trying to run to him side. But how's that for excitement? We didn't have a lot going, and then all of a sudden,
bam,
outbreaks a football game. So how about that?
And the offense getting involved. At first it was just the defense that scored the touchdowns. Another third down. It's 3rd down and 11. 3 receivers up top for Hasselbeck. Wobbles one out to Tipton, and he is tripped up by Aaron Colvin. I think there's a little confidence building right now for this Jacksonville defense. At least it seems that way.
Yeah, sometimes it's all it takes. And when you watch them this season, defense has not lived up to the expectations that were set out. You've seen great improvement by the offense, but the defense has been a big disappointment. And some of that has been a bad luck, some bad timing happening on some plays that happened. But here today, it shows you that you have to put the past behind you, and it only matters what you do on game day. Today, they've come out and played perhaps one of their finest games.
McAfee, a 63-yard punt his last time. He gets this one off. Rashad Green back deep to receive. He'll return this one from the 27. Makes one man miss. Slips through into some daylight. He could go. He's got McAfee to beat. He's going to go! Touchdown, Jacksonville! 73 yards! Big play city here in Jacksonville. First special teams touchdown of the year for the Jags.
Well, 0 to 60, Tom. That's what Rashad Green brings to this football team. The one guy that can really accelerate, and he wasn't even touched. That was a poor job by Indianapolis staying in their coverage lanes. Nobody forced him back inside, and for the second week in a row, Indianapolis giving up a huge punt return.
And Myers makes 2 point-afters in a row, much to the delight of Gus Bradley. His team is up by 10. Pat McAfee takes this stuff seriously. 20 unanswered points for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think what has to be encouraging is defense, special teams getting on the board and giving this offense a little bit of life.
From high above, take a look how this one unfolded.
But look at all of the Indianapolis defense. They're on the other's hash mark. They're not even spread out across to the other side of the field. Rashad Green, all he has to do is outrun one person, and nobody gets him away and makes him start and stop. That's an easy touchdown for a guy that knows how to accelerate.
From the other side of the field, look at the pool cam. Who says they're not watching the game? You might see a cannonball or two into that one if this keeps up. It's a 10-point lead for Jacksonville. We mentioned it's their first special teams touchdown of the year. That's always something that coaches want to see. And now for Chuck Pagano, it's a little adjustment. It's been a stunning turn of events. Chuck Pagano and the Colts are trying to get through these weeks without Andrew Luck. They're anticipating he's back next week when they take on the Houston Texans. But hey, if the Colts won today, if they wind up winning today, and the Texans lose tonight, they could clinch the division next week. If they wind up losing today, this division continues to be up for grabs with the final 3 weeks. Myers kickoff, and Bray will let it go over his head. No returns here today. 4 touchdowns the last 5 minutes, 11 seconds. We've had some big-time plays here today.
It sure makes it a lot of fun to watch when you have big plays like this. For the second game in a row, fumbled snap leads to points for the other team. And then right before halftime, Jacksonville answers back. Andre Branch with a great strip sack, and then Rashad Green getting some action, coming back and making a huge impact. Big second return of the season for him since he's been back and part of this special teams unit.
Colts down by 10 with the ball from the 20. Excellent defense by Telvin Smith. He's a pretty special player. Second-year pro out of Florida State.
Well, confidence is a beautiful thing, and you're seeing what confidence looks like defensively right now for Jacksonville. And remember when we talked to Telvin, we said, what's the next step for you? And he said, just making that big play.
Yeah.
I've been so close, but if I can make 2 or 3 game changers a week, that's the next level.
You talked to him about it the last game against the Colts where he had an opportunity to potentially have a pick 6 as Andre Johnson catches this one out of the backfield and Smith makes the tackle. And his eyes lit up and he knew exactly what play you were talking about where he was seconds away from intercepting Hasselbeck last time for a touchdown.
You know, I'm a little surprised, they're not challenging Jacksonville's linebackers a little bit more with the tight ends. I think maybe if there's one spot that they've been vulnerable this year, it's been from the tight end position. Delaney Walker had a huge game last week against them. And right now, the tight ends who have continued to be ignored as a part of this offense, just not getting a lot of action.
Yeah, Delaney Walker, Stevens, they were big last week for the Titans. On third down, Hasselbeck try to convert. Dumps it off to Moncrief. Not much there, but he breaks loose along the sidelines. And he's knocked out of bounds by Sergio Brown. You want to talk about needing a big play. Dante Moncrief, they feed him for a first down and more.
Well, great defense. You really can't call it any better. They're bluffing inside. They're coming back. They're playing zone. Hasselbeck throws a very conservative pass, but then you see Moncrief freeze Jonathan Cyprien. He has contained right there. That should be an easy tackle. You should be off the field. Now you give Indy the ball past midfield.
Gate of 33. Here's Gore. And Gore keeping his feet moving to the 36.
It goes back to tackling one more time. And that's been a big problem. And really a big reason why this defense has been hurt. Secondary-wise, they must do a better job of tackling in space. And that's one thing that Gus Bradley talked about last week. 13 missed tackles. Way too many, and a lot of those led to those big plays by that Tennessee offense.
Just saw your former coach, Bob Babbage, up in the booth. Gore again, and he has the first down. Michael Bennett, the rookie from Ohio State, makes the tackle for the Jags. There is Bennett. Well, this is a big drive for the Colts. They're down by 10. They haven't had a whole lot going offensively. They get the big play from Dante Moncrief. As we said, they're trying to get through until Andrew Luck gets back, possibly next week, from the lacerated kidney. Off the play fake, Hasselbeck lofts it to the near side of the field. T.Y. Hilton comes back to the 11-yard line. There is a... Oh, boy, Hasselbeck is hurt. He's down on his back. His hat is off. Roy Miller hit him. And don't forget, he was injured last week. Charlie Whitehurst had to come in last week as he took a couple of hits.
He took a major shot. Roy Miller goes 6'2", 320 pounds, and he just had a sprint.
Clemens, too.
No, Clemens, too. Actually, Roy Miller hits him with his shoulder. And you got to wonder, is that some residual of what Hasselbeck was feeling from last week's game?
Well, he told us yesterday he's going to start. He's not sure if he can finish. We'll find out.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Hyundai, an official sponsor of the NFL, and by Clean Crisp Coors Light.
10th-year pro Charlie Whitehurst takes over for Matt Hasselbeck, who is warming up on the sidelines. He ran off as we went to our timeout, so he has to sit for at least one play. Whitehurst on the play fake will throw it out of bounds, and he's knocked to the ground. Well, they're getting good pressure from that edge, that Chris Clemens, Jared Odrick spot of the field. Here's the head. Hasselbeck's head looks like it bounces onto the field on this, Adam.
Yeah, you see that head snap back right there. That's what makes that helmet come off. It wasn't that vicious of a blow from Clemens or Roy Miller, but it's a good thing that he's able to get back in the game and be okay. He's not back in the game.
No, not yet. He was evaluated on the sidelines. We saw that happen, and Whitehurst now out of the shotgun. See his career numbers. 2nd down and 10. Dumps it off to Gore, and Gore has a blocker to the 5. A flag comes in as he's down to the 2, close to a first down. There are now 2 flags. Telvin Smith is slow to get up, but he's fine.
I think they're going to get Jonathan Harrison a hold on Telvin Smith. He body slammed him right to the ground.
Here comes Matt Hasselbeck.
Number 72 offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Well, we've seen a handful of penalties against the Colts in the red zone, but this is a good sight to see. Hasselbeck back in the game. The Colts fans, we saw a lot of them today. Long line at the hotel for breakfast. They were taking up a lot of that line. They're happy to see that.
Tom, that's really the penalties in the red zone has really been the big thing that held them back.
Absolutely.
As far as scoring touchdowns. This is their third trip here, and this is their 3rd penalty. I mean, that's really difficult to try and overcome.
Down by 10. They've won 16 straight in the AFC South. Hasselbeck back in from the shotgun on 2nd down and long. Steps up, ball is swatted away, incomplete. It looked like Tyson Alualu was the one who got a hand on that pass play.
That was pretty athletic play. Alualu, you're going to see number 83 kind of or 93 just kind of jump up as he is getting double teamed. And Hasselbeck thought that he had his wide receiver in the corner. But another terrific play. You've seen a lot of impact plays today coming from the front four of this defensive line.
Inside handoff goes to Tipton, and he runs to the right inside the 15. Telvin Smith makes the tackle, so they'll settle for a field goal attempt here from the very steady Adam Vinatieri, who has already made 2 today. Matt Hasselbeck was saying this week that he's used to folks putting the old man in front of his name. He said, I've had that my whole life. I'm Don Hasselbeck's son. That used to be what people said about me when I was a kid. The other elder statesman, Adam Vinatieri, on for the 33-yard field goal attempt, and it is good. One-score game, 7:38 to play here in the third quarter. Hey, this past Tuesday, Jaguars quarterbacks Blake Bortles and Chad Henne visited Wolfson Children's Hospital. Now, the two quarterbacks signed autographs and took pictures with children on the hospital's oncology floor. There's Chad Henne. Nice hat that he's repping. Now, Blake Bortles, when we talked to him this week, Adam, he said, I have to remember how cool it is for kids. He said, I don't realize that they even know me. He said, but I have to realize that it's cool for a kid to have me just throw them a pass or say hi to them or sign an autograph. It was kind of neat to see the evolution of a young quarterback. As Bernard Robinson takes a knee. Well, speaking of his evolution, it's been an up and down day for Blake Bortles.
322 yards, 5 touchdowns last week. This week, a little bit of a tougher proposition. He had a couple of bad passes early. He had the fumbled snap that led to points. And again, right before halftime, not diagnosing the late sack leading to a fumble. But then the good thing is he came out and he fired it right back to one of his more reliable wide receiver, Allen Hurns, who rewarded him by making a great catch and hitting the explosive play.
That's Hurns, number 88, in motion. And Bortles looks the other side of the field for Julius Thomas. That one's incomplete. Thomas covered by Jonathan Newsom. Never miss a moment of football action with the CBS Sports app. Every play and every score, every game and every highlight right as they happen. Download the CBS Sports app now at cbssports.com/mobile.
About the game that Vontae Davis has had, Tom. He's been on Allen Robinson almost the entire game, and boy, he is just shutting him out.
Well, he's on him right now up top of your screen. Bortles is trying to hand it off to Yeldon. He's going to keep it himself, and he's got some room on the near side, and it just straddles the sideline out of bounds at the 35, a 15-yard gain. You know better than I do. Was that a botched play?
I don't know. You know what? It's hard for me. It looks like, Bortles, he pivots out to the other side. I think what he saw happen was T.J. Yeldon slipped. And instead of trying to force the ball to Yeldon as he was coming up off the ground, he decided to just take it and take off around the corner. So great awareness and being heads up by Bortles in that situation.
Bortles, who has a touchdown pass in 13 straight games, also has the ability to run, and that's a 4-yard gain for T.J. Yeldon. Second down and 6. Under 7 minutes to play here in the third quarter. Well, with Adam Archuleta, I'm Tom McCarthy. The AFC South is up for grabs. You can say that about the NFC East as far as the playoffs go. Even the Jaguars at 4-8 still have a chance. Chuck Pagano's team at 6-6, tied with the Texans.
Green 80. Green is up.
And up to Yeldon running left. Not much there. Steps inside. Makes one man miss. He made McNary miss, and that freed him up to midfield. David Parry eventually made the tackle.
Boy, such a good run by Yeldon. The moves, he makes somebody miss, he breaking tackles. And that's really what you have to do. Right there, the Colts decided to play both of their safeties back. And as an offense, that's what you have to take advantage of. If they want to play those safeties back to protect corners, you got to make them pay by a great running game.
Keep an eye on Julius Thomas. He was lined up on the right side of the offensive line. They're going to go for the home run ball for Marquise Lee. And a flag comes in. Jalil Brown was in on the coverage. Lee was questionable to return because of a quad injury. It didn't look like the quad was bothering him there. T.J. Yeldon, though, is down away from the play.
Number 31 defense. Automatic. First down.
So Jalil Brown, who's in for Greg Toller, And that's a concern right there. An ankle injury put him on the sidelines for a couple of plays earlier. What do you think there, Adam?
I don't know. Based on that replay, it looks like he's playing the ball right there. I got to admit, I don't think that there was anything wrong with the coverage right there by Brown.
Well, it looked like
the only question was, and it's hard to say about it, did he arm bar him? But at the same time, I'd like to see.
You think that's it right there?
No,
the
I
arm
think
on arm?
That's a pretty shaky arm bar. I think he's just trying to run right there, and Lee's hands gets pinned behind him. And I thought that was pretty good coverage down the field by Brown. Sometimes I think, as you know, Tom, through our conversations, I strongly lean towards let them play a little bit more. And that was certainly a very borderline call.
Yeldon is up on his feet. He's been battling a groin injury and today an ankle injury. 11 carries, 62 yards. Tonight, what went into making the new Star Wars movie? Find out when 60 Minutes goes behind the scenes with director J.J. Abrams. Tonight, only CBS. So a 34-yard penalty essentially moves the ball to the 16. Denard Robinson is in the backfield for the Jags. Off the play fake, Bortles to throw. Makes one man miss. He's very athletic and he can't connect with Denard Robinson. Think about Blake Bortles when you meet him. He's big. He's 6'4", 6'5", I should say, 245 pounds, but he can move for a big guy. And you see the first quarter stats for Blake Bortles and the Jags and what they've done since. And a lot of that is, his awareness that's helped that. They were 6 for 6 in the red zone last week. Let's see if they can build on it here this week. Robinson. He was able to cut back inside the 10 and take it down toward the 5-yard line. Bjorn Werner makes the tackle.
I really like, once he sees this, he goes right now. There is no hesitation on his cutback, and he got a great block by A.J. Cann, who was able to get his hands on the linebacker right there. I think that was DeQuell Jackson, but you see the decisive nature of Robinson's running, a big place where he has improved in his short career as a running back.
First and goal from the 4. 3 tight ends on the right side. Bortles will throw back to the left side for Lewis, and it's broken up by DeQuell Jackson. Well, Jackson did not bite at all on that rollout to the near side.
A big-time veteran awareness by DeQuell Jackson. You're going to see Jackson's right here, and normally you're going to run this play, and you think the linebacker is going to go with the coverage, but he stays right on his man, Mercedes Lewis. He gets his eyes in the right place, and Jacksonville trying to scheme up some to their tight end, but Jackson, again, all over the place in the run game and in the passing game.
Second and goal from the 4, out of the shotgun. Bortles again toward the end zone. Caught! Allen Robinson, his 12th touchdown reception of the season. Tied for the NFL lead in touchdown receptions. He's gotten involved.
Allen Robinson dominated in the red zone last week, and he hits, we call that a little shake route. You fake to the outside, try and get the safeties to break up. Mike Adams takes the bait, and that's an easy throwing lane for Bortles to connect to his favorite wide receiver.
29-16, Jacksonville on top, 30-16, Jacksonville on top of Indianapolis with 4:51 to play here in the third quarter. Well, their offense is coming to life, and they're feeding off the defense to a certain extent. Mike Adams frustrated that he was beat on that. He knew that Robinson would be a big part of the game plan, particularly in the red zone. That was his first reception of the afternoon. Sunday, an NFL on CBS doubleheader brings on the push for the playoffs. First, Marcus Mariota and the Titans take on Tom Terrific and the Patriots. Then, Demaryius Thomas and the Broncos battle Big Ben and the Steelers. Check local listings, beginning with your Super Bowl 50 team on the NFL Today. How about right now, the New England Patriots have the 3rd seed in the AFC because you've got 3 teams with 10 wins and 2 losses. That's why that injury to Andy Dalton was so big in the first half for the Bengals, because they had a 10-2 record and had the top spot right now.
Not very often you get a chance to maybe take home field advantage away from the New England Patriots, who seem to have it every single year there in the AFC. So
Quan Bray will take a knee. It's a 14-point deficit. You see Chuck Pagano, I don't know if he's looking at defense or if he's looking at offense right there, but his Colts have won 16 straight within the division. It's the best run in NFL history.
They've done a great job. Now, certainly, I think if you're the rest of the AFC South and you're the Jacksonville Jaguars right now with the opportunity, you have to take advantage of the fact that Andrew Luck is not the starting quarterback here. And if you can't beat the Colts with him out of the lineup, then it's going to be, how are you going to win with him in the lineup? So this is a major game right here for the confidence in this division.
Hasselback going for T.Y. Hilton, who tried a one-handed grab against Devon House. Incomplete, 2nd down and 10.
Now, I'm a little surprised that they haven't gone to their sub package and test out Nick Marshall a little bit more. You know, I know he got beat in that first play. He did a good job later on against Moncrief. But I think that's somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience that you got to find out in a critical situation. Is he up for making the play?
2nd down and 10, middle of the field for Allen. Tight ends have not really been that involved in the pass game receiving the ball. They've been extra blockers. Jonathan Cyprien makes the tackle. Chuck Pagano in his 4th season. He said some interesting things. Yesterday, he said one of the big mantras for his team is, so what? Now what? That's what he's trying to tell his players. He gave them all poker chips. Said, we're all in. They're all in now on a 3rd down and 4. 3 of 12 on 3rd downs today after a tough week last week. Here's Tipton, and it's knocked away. Sergio Brown at the last moment got his hand in there.
They like taking shots on 3rd and short, and they motion Tipton out before the snap. Put him in the slot. They run a pick to try and get Sergio Brown out of position. And I tell you what makes this is the play of the pocket by Brown. Brown is beat, but as soon as Tipton puts his hands out there, Brown is able to use that arm and swat his arms away from the football. Great recovery by Brown.
7th punt of the day for Pat McAfee. Rashad Green has it punt return for a touchdown, and he'll call for the fair catch at the 31-yard line. It's a 43-yard punt. Well, you talked about at halftime that they need to get Allen Robinson involved a little bit more. Well, he's been covered by Vontae Davis. It's been tough to get him involved.
Davis did a great job in their first meeting whenever they matched up. Today was shadowing him almost the entire game. Not a lot of space for Robinson to get open. But then you get in a red zone where he's been dominant, match him up against the safety, and shows a really good piece of route running to get open against the safety.
The potential for this receiving core is outstanding as Denard Robinson takes the handoff. And he is wrapped up immediately by McNary and knocked down after a gain of 1. Robinson, last week 153 yards receiving, only 4 today, but that 4 was a touchdown.
You can see when he comes in the game, you certainly see a speed difference. You know, he has that capability of being a big play running back. And you know, coming into this game, I thought they would have maybe got T.J. Yeldon involved a little bit more in the passing game. But, you know, right now you're sitting in a pretty good position right now, up 14 points here at the end of the third quarter, but you have to keep that momentum going.
By the way, TJ Yeldon is out with a potential knee injury, questionable return, and there's his replacement, Robinson, who gets a first down. Parry with the tackle. Let's go to JB in New York for an update.
Buffalo has battled from 10 down.
Yeah, Mike Gillislee, 19-yard run right here. First career touchdown right for him. 2020, Buffalo comes back, tied with Philadelphia.
44 seconds left in the third. Tom McCarthy, Adam Archuleta.
Boy, Gillislee was big last week for the Buffalo Bills, and you see where the Bills are right now, 6-6. Yep, they're in the hunt. The Jets have a half-game lead over the Steelers for that final spot right now. And the Jets are beaten up on the Titans today. Robinson stopped behind the line of scrimmage, a loss of 1. Trent Cole makes the tackle for the Colts. Well, Gus Bradley talked about process, and after winning just 11 games so far as the head coach, he liked the process of the offense last week. I think he likes what he's seen today, for the most part, in spurts.
Easy, gun, Monday.
And a false start called against the Jaguars.
False start, number 15 offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
I guess Robinson blinked a little bit on the outside.
Yeah, Bortles was checking, and he sensed that there was going to be a little pressure, moved to a shotgun look, and then Robinson thought that was the snap of the ball, and that's why he flinched.
So the penalty moves the ball back to the 39. 10 combined penalties between the two teams. Bortles looking downfield. He'll go underneath to Julius Thomas with a flag in at midfield, and Thomas is taken down at the 48-yard line. Thomas was not active the last time these two teams faced each other. I think that's going to go against the Colts. Chuck Pagano said, who was that penalty against? They're asking Gus Bradley what he wants to do.
For the pass, illegal contact, number 91 defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
I was going to say, you have to take the penalty because even though it's just 5 yards, it's an automatic first down, and I think you want the possessions right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gives you that first down, and remember that, you get back a lot of that precious yardage. I had a hard time. I didn't quite see exactly where Jonathan Newsom made the illegal contact on that play.
27.
But a big blow against that defense.
From the 44-yard line, here's Denard Robinson. In for the injured TJ Yeldon. He makes one man miss, and he bursts into the open field. Lowry was the only guy that could wrap him up, and he does at the 26, maybe the 25-yard line. A gain of 31 yards.
Well, good cutback ability, but the block that made this was the right guard, number 60, A.J. Cann, the rookie out of South Carolina, who gets up on Josh McNary. And therefore, there's no inside linebacker to support to tackle Denard Robinson.
Could be the final play of the third quarter. Robinson again. And he'll move the pile down to the 22. It's a gain of 3 yards. The final 15 seconds or so will tick off the clock here in the third. And the Jaguars are moving toward the red zone. They've got a 14-point lead. The end of the third quarter. Jacksonville 30, Indianapolis 16. We'll return to Jacksonville after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. On a warm afternoon here in Jacksonville, Florida, the Jaguars were red hot in the third quarter with 21 points to take a 30-16 lead, and they're moving the ball. It's second down and 7 as we begin the fourth quarter. They're up by 14, and they have the ball at the 22 of Indianapolis. That's Hearns that branched off. Bortles to Thomas, makes a great grab And he's got a first down to the 14 in front of Lowry.
These two have had kind of a difficult time establishing a great chemistry since Julius Thomas has been back in the lineup. Now, he has been a big red zone presence, 4 touchdowns this season, but certainly a guy that you have to look for when you get inside that 20-yard line.
Well, they haven't converted a first down on a third down today, but they have 4 first downs overall in this drive. Blake Bortles was telling us that Julius Thomas recognizes sometimes when they're not on the same page, and he said he works. He said he brings me aside, and they work on certain plays during practice. He said that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, and I think, when you look at it, there's, maybe Gronkowski is a guy that you can really try and force the ball to and really kind of dictate matchups. But as I look at tight ends, it's best if you just kind of let it happen naturally. And I think maybe earlier when he came back, they tried to force some things in there a little bit too much. And I think you see better production when Bortles just goes through his progressions and hits the open receiver.
On second down, Bortles pumps once, has Thomas at the 5, and he falls down at the 3. He's got another first down. Jonathan Newsom was in on the coverage, and we've got some pushing going on after the play. Marquise Lee, DeQuell Jackson in the mix. Oh, that was going to be a flag. Can't knock the official's hat off.
Come on,
It's
man.
Lowry and Lee, and it's just not smart at this point on the field.
Well, and he made contact with the official right there, whether it's inadvertent or not. So, they're going to have a conversation on whether or not they're going to throw him out of the game.
They let them push a little bit, and they stepped in immediately. But then it sort of evolved into a little bit more. Watch it again. There's Lee being talked to.
There are fouls by both teams on the play. Taunting, number 11, offense. Unnecessary roughness, number 33, defense. Those fouls offset. First down.
Well, Brad Freeman had a chance if he wanted to call for his ejection. The field judge, Gus Bradley, talking to the second-year pro from USC, Marquise Lee. Jaguars are fortunate that offset there.
Absolutely, big time.
So they're deeming it inadvertent, the hat coming off. So they're 7 for their last 7 in the red zone on touchdowns.
You see Julius Thomas out here on Josh McNary, the linebacker. I think you got to go right there and test number 57.
From the 3-yard line, Bortles looks right, throws right, traffic there, and it's incomplete. Vontae Davis breaks it up. Allen Hurns was the intended receiver. I'm with you. He didn't even look to the left. He went right to the right almost immediately.
Matchup-wise, it doesn't really get better than that. Now, if there's one place where Davis has struggled a little bit this year, it's been in jump ball situations against bigger wide receivers, but that was brilliantly played by Davis.
Don't forget the Jags have only 2 rushing touchdowns this year. TJ Yeldon's out with a knee injury. It's Robinson in the backfield if you're wondering whether they would run here. On second down, the slant, it's complete. Touchdown, Julius Thomas. 4th straight game with a touchdown reception for Thomas. It's a 20-point game.
Tough matchup, bigger tight end against a smaller cornerback, and that's just about body and position. There's absolutely no way you have a chance to stop a slant when you get a big target and you allow him to put his body between you and the quarterback. That's an easy throw and catch from Bortles to Julius Thomas.
Jason Myers on for the point after, and it is good. 37-16. Blake Bortles and Julius Thomas getting a little chemistry for the 4th consecutive game. A big lead for the Jags. Aerial coverage of today's game is provided by MetLife. On a beautiful day here in Jacksonville. We've enjoyed our 3 days here. Going to practice on Friday. Getting a chance to meet with the Colts yesterday. The Jaguars, they're coming to life offensively. They're up 37-16 with 12:53 to play here in the 4th quarter. No returns today for either team. Gus Bradley, we've talked about how great it is to have conversations with him. He's very inspiring. He's an aggressive coach. He's been under fire this week and over the last couple weeks because the team is 4-8 this season, and the defense was so poor last week against Tennessee. But he just, does what Chuck Pagano says. He said, I got to worry about today, and I have to worry about this team and the continued maturity of this team.
You can understand because this business is all about winning, and they certainly have had some very disappointing losses here. But it was a major rebuilding project when he took over, and I don't think anybody should expect a massive, quick turnaround when he took over this job.
For the 5th time in this half, they begin from the 20. Hilton is out of bounds on that reception. There is a flag down.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 90 defense for illegally contacting the helmet of the quarterback. 15-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
Andre Branch called for the penalty. Hasselbeck was knocked to the ground. Our guy Hardy on the sidelines, our camera operator, took a hit from T.Y. Hilton.
Oh. It's a way to hang in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know whose hit was harder. Was it Branch on Hasselbeck or Hilton on Hardy?
I think it was Hilton on Hardy. I don't think Branch really. But if you make any contact whatsoever with the helmet of the quarterback, regardless of impact, they're going to call it.
First down. And Moncrief, great catch away from his body. Nick Marshall was in on the coverage there. Gain of 10.
Nick Marshall playing all off coverage. A flat curl combination. Nice coming out of his break. And that's tough to stop from our coverage. Good job by Hasselbeck getting the ball out to Moncrief.
Frank Gore, he was busy in the first half. Not as much here in the second half. It's his 6th carry or 5th carry here in the second half. Evans takes him down after a gain of 2. All right, so 37-16. I mean, it's a tough comeback for the Colts.
Well, you got to somehow, some way, you got to get down the field. Turnovers are going to have to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you can come back unless you're able to score, and then your defense has to take the ball away from the Jaguars offensively.
Hasselbeck will keep it himself. He's inside Jacksonville territory, has a first down, and he's shoved out of bounds by Telvin Smith. It's close. He wasn't out of bounds, and Hasselbeck is not happy. Oh, man, did he hurt his hands? He hurt his hands. On the Jaguars' side of the field, he slams his helmet down. There's no flag. Telvin Smith has not been flagged for that push out of bounds.
Now, he made contact when Hasselbeck was still in bounds, and you probably don't expect it from number 8. Some quarterbacks in this league, you get them by the sideline. If you don't give them that shove out of bounds, they'll put the foot in the ground and cut back across your face. So he's clearly still in bounds when he makes the shove.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he was heading out of bounds, but he was in bounds. And Hasselbeck knew something was wrong immediately. Boy, that's close. He's holding that left arm.
Boy, he has, in the last 2 weeks, he has taken a beating. And, you hate to keep talking about it because it's been mentioned ad nauseum by everybody, but 40-year-olds aren't meant to take that kind of a beating.
Yeah.
They're meant to call football games and sit on the couch and play with their kids.
We mentioned this before, that when we talked to him about starting today, he said, I am starting. I just want to be able to finish it. I'm going to start. I don't know if I'm going to finish it.
Yeah, you got to give him a lot of credit because coming into this game, he was really beat up. He was still hurting throughout the course of the week. He practiced, but he had a job to do, and to his credit, he gave it his best.
Here's Charlie Whitehurst, and his pass to Gore, a little short. It'll be second down. Boy, the Colts really are backed up against the wall here. Their 16-game winning streak inside the AFC South is in jeopardy, down by 21. But beyond that, their starting quarterback inactive today, Andrew Luck. And his backup, Matt Hasselbeck, who's 4-1 as a starter, is injured for the second time this afternoon. Second down at 10, Whitehurst from midfield. leans it toward the end zone for Moncrief, and it's knocked away by Nick Marshall.
Boy, that's the way you do it. Nick Marshall one-on-one down the field, locked up with Dante Moncrief, and where he didn't do it at the beginning of the game, looks back, is in great position, plays the ball, reaches in there with his left hand. Well done, number 41.
Went to Georgia as a defensive back, transferred to Auburn, was their quarterback in the Senior Bowl with the Jags as the coaching staff. He started as a quarterback, went to Gus Bradley and the staff and said, hey, switch me to the secondary.
I think I would continue to come after Charlie Whitehurst. I would not allow him, Tom, to get comfortable inside that pocket.
Well, a timeout called by Indianapolis. They got to think about this one.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Honda. Hurry in for great deals during Happy Honda Days. FedEx, how the holidays arrive. And by State Farm. Find your agent at statefarm.com.
Colts called a timeout. It's 3rd down and 10. They're down by 21. 4-down territory with 11:21 to play here in the 4th quarter. Charlie Whitehurst on for the injured Matt Hasselbeck. Out with an injury. He's under pressure, and it's incomplete. And that's what you talked about, Adam. Just keep bringing the house. Andre Branch was the first one there. Matt Hasselbeck on the sidelines. That's a lot of happening for a 40-year-old.
Yeah, that's harassment. And, you know, they had done a pretty good job of kind of solidifying the pressure and the hits on the quarterback. I think, you know, not having Anthony Costanzo in the lineup has really hurt them, because Joe Wrights really did a great job playing over at right tackle. Has since had to move over to left tackle. They've really had a hard time in the last 2 weeks.
4th down and 10. Whitehurst is under pressure, just throws it up for grabs. Incomplete. Andre Branch again was in his back pocket. Now the Jags will take over on downs, up 21 with 11:11 to play here in the 4th quarter.
Now another all-out blitz, and Jacksonville Jaguars defense once again bringing the heat on the Indianapolis Colts.
Coming up on the Subway postgame show, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores, highlights, and analysis. That's all coming up on the Subway postgame show. So they're going to talk about the playoff picture, which we thought would be a little clearer at the end of today. Maybe not. The Jaguars are throwing their hat in the ring because of 3 touchdowns here in the second half. Here's Denard Robinson. They're going to try to run some clock as they take over. A gain of 1. Trent Cole makes the tackle. Well, here are the AFC South standings. Now, nothing has changed yet. Houston will play later tonight against New England. If Indianapolis loses today and Jacksonville wins, and Houston loses tonight against New England, well, then Jacksonville is right in the mix.
They are, and that puts a huge game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. I think, boy, number 12 cannot come back soon enough.
That's the hope, is that he's back next week against those Houston Texans.
380.
It's a big offensive line. Robinson takes the handoff to Quell Jackson, nails him at the line of scrimmage. A gain of 1. It'll be 3rd down.
Oh my goodness. DeQuell Jackson just shoots the A gap. And listen to this.
You can feel your bones rattle a little bit on that, aren't you?
He just ran right through the tackle. Boy, he's had a pretty fantastic game here today. Love watching number 52.
Well, how about the Jags have a 37-16 lead, and they're 0 for 6 on 3rd down conversions today.
Look out for sprint out to Blake's right.
There he goes, and Hearns has got it. And does he have a 1st down? We'll see where they mark it. He might be a half-yard shy. Darius Butler was in on the coverage. This is all going to depend on the spot. Carl Jeffers is going to ask for the change to come out on the field.
Well, you can see Hearns at the end of this play. He really extends that ball, but I think
that's close. It's tough to tell whether he's out of bounds as he extended that. Right now he's going to be about a half-yard shy, it looks like.
I don't know, man. That, to me, right. No, I think that, you know what? I think that's a first down.
Yeah, I think that.
I think his body was in the air,
Yep.
and he never really went out bound. And you're allowed to extend that ball past the line out of bounds, as long as your body isn't out of bounds. The line extends through the sideline.
All right, would you throw the red flag here if you're Gus Bradley? It looks like he's short by about a half yard.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely.
He's wondering. He's got a 21-point lead. It is 4th and inches right now. 4th and a little less than 1. Give you one more look here.
Right there, that to me, that says first down.
Yeah, it's past the line. What do you do if you're Gus Bradley? You got to throw it, right?
I think I don't know what kind of, never know what kind of information that he's getting from upstairs. But it looks like he's going to roll with that defense.
Well, he's going to keep the offense out on the field.
Or excuse me.
Number 93 reports is eligible. Number 93 is eligible.
Yeah, I think you got 3 timeouts.
And you're up by 21.
You're up, and I don't know what the downside is of challenging that play.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tyson Alualo is in as the fullback. This happens often.
Green attack! Mike 57, Mike 57, Green 80! Green attack!
And he just threw the challenge flag. So he wanted Bortles to buy some time. I'm with you, though. I was surprised he hadn't done it. And again, he doesn't have a whole lot to lose. We're not saying this game is over.
Challenging the ruling on the field that the spot is short of the line to gain. We'll review the play.
But he certainly has a cushion. We'll take a break. 37-16. What do you think? Does the stretch of Hearns give him the first down? We'll find out when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Walmart has everything you need to share wonder every day. And by Subway. Make your sub deluxe with 50% more meat.
After review, the ruling on the field has been changed. The runner extended the ball beyond the line to gain when he crossed the sideline. It will be 1st and 10. Jacksonville will not be charged with a timeout.
Well, we checked with our officiating expert, Mike Carey. He agreed with Adam, and here's our blimp shot. We're really using the blimp today. This is perfect.
Yeah, this is outstanding right there. You can see as Hearns uses those long arms of his to extend that ball and pick up that first down. It's a heck of an effort by number 88.
Well,
good challenge by Gus Bradley.
Excellent challenge.
Thank goodness.
It's a first down, and the clock continues to run. They're up 21.
Green 80!
Denard Robinson in the backfield for the injured T.J. Yeldon.
Green attack!
Robinson slips through inside the 40. Oh, great cutback. Down inside the 30. Dwight Lowry makes the tackle. I think we might be seeing a little evolution of a running back here in Denard Robinson.
Denard Robinson right now, and what he kind of did last week is making a case to get a few more touches here as a part of the offense. T.J. Yeldon is their featured back, but I really think that Denard Robinson is seeing the holes extremely well today, and more importantly, very decisive. When he makes that decision, he accelerates and hits that hole. It's been a great burst of energy for this offense here in the second half.
Former quarterback at the University of Michigan. You got a former quarterback at Auburn who's helped out defensively for the Jags today. On first down, off the play fake, Bortles rolls the pocket, dumps it off to Harbor. And Bjorn Werner will knock him out of bounds. Clock will continue to run. Chuck Pagano, he talked about his fate. This is the final year of his deal. He's not signed past this year. He said, hey, we're all in. I gave the players the chips, rolling it right in. Not only is his streak in jeopardy, but the top spot in the AFC South is in jeopardy. He still has done a fantastic job as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts during his time. I mean, figure what he's done without Andrew Luck over the last several weeks.
Hey, bear, bear, bear! Bear, 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 bear! AB! Green 80! Green attack!
Play clock down to 2. Robinson runs into his own man and still gets down to the 21. Jackson will be credited with the tackle. 7:10 and counting to play. You know, we talk about the AFC South, how all these teams are at 500 or below. Hey, listen, last year the Panthers got in under 500. They won their first round game. Several years ago, the Seahawks got in 2 games under 500. They won their first round game.
You go back to 2004, we got in as a wild card. We were 8-8. That year, Seattle was 9-7. We go up to Seattle, and we won that game on the road. So, yeah, anything can happen. You just got to find a way to get yourself into that postseason. But right now, the Colts making it very difficult on themselves to accomplish that task.
Timeout called by the Jaguars.
First charge timeout.
First charge timeout.
A
Well,
30-second
the
timeout.
quarterback in that game in Seattle was one Matt Hasselbeck. And as we mentioned, our guy Adam Archuleta was not wearing a jacket and tie during that game, but he was in the middle of this trying to be peacemaker. Hasselbeck doing the same. Look at the two of you being peacemaker.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. See how he walks away?
Yeah.
Like he knew what was going on right there. And we got a chance. We played together against each other a lot. We had a great rivalry, you know, between the Seahawks and the St. Louis Rams, but those were some fun times.
I don't know. He's 40. You're 38. Why aren't you still playing?
That's a good question. Now, me and you might have to have some words. Yeah, I like you, but I don't know if we're on that level where you can start questioning.
3rd down and 4. Bortles pumps once, throws to the middle, passes complete to the middle. There's Green inside the 5. A flag is down late. Mike Adams makes the tackle.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Number 98 defense for contact of the quarterback's helmet. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Well, it's not often we say this, but it's unraveling right now in a Jags-Colts game, but it's the Colts who are unraveling.
And you know, it's kind of shades of what happened last week, because you can argue that the Colts, up until maybe that final, 2-minute drive, or that drive right before halftime by Pittsburgh, really was playing well. Defensively, they were in it.
Right.
And they were ahead 10-6 at that point. But after that touchdown, and then especially in that second half, things really started to get away with them. This game, very similar feel.
First and goal from the 2. Denard Robinson into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacksonville. Now, he did fumble the ball, and the Colts are saying they have it. But the Jags are celebrating the 3rd touchdown run of the year for Jacksonville.
I think he crossed the leg. His forearm hit the ground. He had possession of the football.
I agree.
That ball didn't come out until he hit the ground.
Yeah, he's into the end zone. The ball comes loose as he hits the ground. He broke the plane, and there's the ball coming loose.
What an afternoon by number 16, Denard Robinson, coming in relief for T.J. Yeldon. And just having an outstanding day today. 75 yards on the ground. That's great production by your backup running back.
Myers with the point after. It is good. 44-16. Jacksonville is on top of Indianapolis. We were thinking in the first half that 6-3 in a field goal battle was what we were heading toward.
It was not a very good game there for the first couple of quarters, and then it's amazing what big plays can do.
Thursday, only on NFL Network, the Bucs chase for a wild card spot heats up when they take on the Rams. But it's a special Saturday edition of Thursday Night Football as the Jets continue their playoff push against the Cowboys. 2 huge showdowns this week only on NFL Network.
I don't know, Tom. What do you think of Tampa Bay? I kind of like what they're doing right now.
I do. I like Jameis Winston and what he's doing. I love their running game. Now, the Jets on the other side, now they're having a good day, and they're currently the number 6 seed. They won, so they're 8-5.
That's big.
The Steelers are heading to victory against the Bengals. They'll be 8-5.
Fitz playing some great ball here in December.
Jets said this week they'd like to bring back Ryan Fitzpatrick after this season.
Yeah, who else?
Steady as he goes. Bray will just grab this one 9 yards deep. So we mentioned before, and we got some footage, some great footage of Adam and Matt Hasselbeck in their playing days. These are the 500 or worse teams to make the playoffs since 2008. And they all won their wild card game, their respective wild card game.
Yeah, anything can happen. But by the way, I'm kind of upset. I sacked Matt Hasselbeck like 5 times. So how come we couldn't get that footage?
Well, that stuff is sealed somewhere. Maybe it's heading to Canton. I don't know. There is Matt Hasselbeck out with a rib injury. Charlie Whitehurst is the quarterback for the Colts. Under 6 minutes to play. Boom Herron tracked down from behind by Andre Branch. Hey, let's give a little love to Andre Branch. They wanted some success and some pressure from that defensive end position, that Leo position. They've gotten it today.
Yeah, that position has really come under fire. The combination of Andre Branch and Chris Clemens was supposed to be a lethal combination this year. And quite honestly, the production from a pressure standpoint just hasn't been there. But today, Andre Branch having a big game.
Andre Johnson, a 9-yard gain. Jordan Tripp makes the tackle. Tripp, who's been playing for Paul Posluszny, out with that hand injury. We haven't really called his name a whole lot, but that doesn't mean he hasn't done a good job.
Oh, I think that's a great sign, really, because they ran the ball a little bit, but the running game really hasn't been that much of a factor, and you haven't seen many communication issues. So I think number 58 has really done a good job being the guy in the middle calling those plays.
Gain of 1 for Boom Herron. No Frank Gore, and Cyprian makes the tackle shy of the first down marker. But just like before, it's 4-down territory for the Colts. They're not going to allow the Jags to substitute. Whitehurst will keep it himself, and he's got the first down across the 30. Four and a half to play. Well, this has been a remarkable second half for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 35 points. Kobe Fleener, and it's intercepted. Jonathan Cyprian. Cyprian along the near side. Inside the 10. And down at the 4-yard line. Can he move the pile in? Nope, they're going to say he's down at the 1-yard line.
Oh, come on, big guy.
Gus Bradley's team has done an awful lot today on each side of the ball in special teams.
Only 6 interceptions this season. Jonathan Cyprian with his 2nd interception of his career. He's disguising. Charlie Whitehurst doesn't account for him, doesn't see him, through a terrible pass inside, and it's only fitting that this defense, who came out ready to play today, puts the icing on the cake.
Telvin Smith tried to get Cyprian into the end zone.
Number 93 is eligible.
Alu is eligible. He'll be the fullback. At least that's the norm. 44-16 Jacksonville. They're looking for the exclamation point if they don't have it already. High formation. Robinson, 2nd touchdown attempt. He got to the goal line, and they'll mark him just shy of it. The ball looks like it might be loose. And I think the Jags, Alu may have fallen on top of it. Charlie Whitehurst lost his helmet on that play. Griff Wellen is the emergency quarterback for the Colts. Take a look. Did he make it? It's a great shot right here. Well, Jackson pushed him back by the helmet. And there's the ball coming loose, and Alu corrals it. Again, Robinson. And again, he stops. It's not the worst thing in the world. They continue to run clock. I mean, they're up 44-16. I mean, they want to get into the end zone again.
I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to throw up a 50-burger out there. You haven't seen that in Jacksonville.
Well, that's a good point.
I mean, I can't even remember if that's ever happened, but certainly right now the clock is your friend.
Yeah. The last 4 possessions, they have 4 TDs. They'll go with the same set, I formation. They've moved back a yard. It's 3rd and goal from the 2. Bortles off the play fake. He might keep it himself. He's looking for the goal line, and he lowers his shoulder. Won't get hurt here. Dwight Lowry takes him down at the half-yard line. You think they were holding their breath on the Jaguars sideline?
Well, it's possible, but that's a heck of a play out there by Dwight Lowry. I mean, you're down 44-16, so you're not talking about a lot, but that is a really good, solid hit on a big quarterback.
This is the 2-minute warning.
We have reached the 2-minute warning. Jacksonville up 44-16. We'll be back right after this. Think about the point total for the Jaguars offensively the last 2 weeks. 39 points last week, 44 today. They're going to go for it on 4th and goal from inside the 1. They have I formation with Harbor now in motion. Robinson is the deep man. And Bortles will keep it himself. He hops toward the goal line. Touchdown, Jacksonville. They've put 50 points on the board here this afternoon. Well, he has every right to smile, Blake Bortles, after that touchdown. For Chuck Pagano, the smiles left toward the end of the first half.
Just take the snap, extend that ball over the goal line, and touchdown. Unbelievable. It's really remarkable to me, Tom, how much a game can change from one half of the next. I mean, and really for the Colts defense, it's kind of been the same thing in both games, the last 2 games.
Extra point is good. 42 points here in the second half for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Watch it again, Blake Bortles. They loved it on the Jags sidelines, but they certainly loved it up on the deck, poolside.
Can't believe they're still in that pool.
Look, that guy gave us a double high five. I can't believe they're still in that pool.
That's aggressive.
It is about 80 degrees.
They got to check the quality of their skin on their feet.
Well, 42-3 is what the Jaguars have done here in the second half. That is just an incredible turn of events. The Hearns touchdown to start it. And coming up on the Subway postgame show, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cower for all the latest NFL scores, highlights, and analysis. That's all coming up on the Subway postgame show.
You know, Tom, this is really kind of a team win. Last week, the offensive explosion was a big part of it. But today, you know, scoring 51 points, the defense had a major play in that. Don't forget the punt return by Rashad Green. I think finally, if you're Gus Bradley, you can put this down as the one game that we've been able to put it all together on special teams, offense and defense.
Kickoff goes out of the end zone. The Colts without Matt Hasselbeck. You see the quarterback comparison. Hasselbeck's out with a rib injury. Bortles 16 of 30, 250 yards. It's the second half, though. I mean, he's just had an incredible second half under center for the Jags.
Yeah, they really turned it around. His receivers made good plays for him. You know, you like the resiliency that you see from Bortles. Not his best first half. You had a lot of adversity. You had the sack fumble. You had the bad snap. But to come back, keep it together, keep this team on the same page, and make plays in the second half is, quite frankly, what you want to see.
Boom, Herron makes the first run of this drive. Andre Branch takes him down. Gus Bradley said about his defense, he said, hey, we just have to play better. I mean, that's just the way he laid it out there. I mean, everything that Gus says, and it's great. We love talking to him, but he basically pared it down to, we just have to play better. We have to tackle better and play better. Well, they've played better, particularly in the second half. And Andre Branch has been all over the place for the Jags. On second down, again, it's Herron. No Frank Gore with this game out of reach for the Colts. 1:15 and counting to play here in the fourth quarter. Well, with the Colts losing and Jacksonville winning, Jacksonville is a game behind Indianapolis, and they will sit and watch like everybody else tonight what the Houston Texans are going to do against the New England Patriots.
You know, I'm curious about that because I want to see exactly how good is Houston. with a chance now here in December. You've been able to put a couple really good games together, put yourself into position, but now you get a chance. You're going against one of the heavyweights.
Absolutely.
And I know that Brady and that defense, you know, they're limping. They have some injuries. But this is a major statement game for Bill O'Brien to try and make with this game coming up tonight.
Chris Smith makes the tackle after a gain of 6. It's a first down for the Colts, but all of the second half belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gus Bradley's team has done something that nobody has done since December of 2013 in the AFC South, and that is beat the Indianapolis Colts. In doing so, they have kept their playoff hopes alive, and the AFC South continues to be up for grabs. A 51-16 victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coming up next, the Subway postgame show. Now for Adam Archuleta, this is Tom McCarthy. Thanks to our entire crew. We'll say so long from Jacksonville. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. We'll join James Brown in New York after this.